saying John is watching a video right now. It'll take him 9 hours to do 3 minutes. Okay. With that, Janet, Miss Janet, you look lovely tonight. How are you
Thank
doing?
you. Good. I'm doing great. It was cooler weather today. Very nice.
I
And one of my bantam chicks, the chickens that are like really little, she laid her first egg. It's really tiny. It was great.
That's awesome. Chicks are always awesome. If Mr. David Guile watches this later, I do want to recommend this movie. If you don't have time to watch the 2.5 hours of this, David, show this movie to your son and to your family. They will enjoy this movie. Okay. So, you've never seen this movie before, correct?
No, never even heard of
Kind of.
it.
Okay, so are you, and thank you, Six Nations 31 Kings, for saying that. YouTube is getting rather bad. And so I had to have a start to my video be a little different tonight by me reciting fair use doctrine, policy, and definition. Okay.
Mhm.
My father introduced me to this film years ago, Janet, and
Mhm.
I didn't pay much attention to it. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't Goodfellas. It wasn't Casino. I wasn't into it. Not that that's all that I want to see, but when I see Joe Pesci is in the credits of a movie, I want to see a 5 foot tall nothing man stab the hell out of somebody with a pen. And I want the prop designer to figure out how to get 2 pints of red looking liquid to spray out at a high velocity. That's what I want to see. Perfect
Yeah,
movie.
I was surprised to see Joe Pesci in it because he was in I can't remember the name of it, something My Cousin Vinny or
My
something,
Cousin
right?
Vinny. Great
Yeah,
movie.
he just looked so much older in this movie to me.
It was released a year later.
Oh,
Kudos
My
to me.
Cousin Vinny was
Uh, My Cousin Vinny's 92.
okay. So this one was older or younger?
Yes. This is a older film by 1 year.
Okay, by 1 year, but he sure looked older. He must have dyed his hair or something, or
Dye
used Grecian
jobs,
formula or
makeup.
something. Yeah.
And this is a 30-year-old film.
Mhm.
It's the anti-mobster film in the best movie way possible.
Yeah, I was reading a couple of things, and the actor that played Sonny, I'm trying to remember what his name is.
Sonny would be Chaz Palminteri.
Uh,
Chaz
yeah,
Palminteri.
commentary. Yes, he did a Broadway play or whatever of this, and he wanted to make it to a movie. Right? It was him,
Correct.
and he just wanted to show what it was like just to be a working Joe in this type of environment.
And I think that's really important.
Hmm. Because
The
this
movie
kind of
starts.
environment is still out there in the cities. It may not be, in the 60s or whatever anymore, but the thug mentality is still there, that if you either go with the flow or else, that type of thing. And if they had any character at all, like Sonny seemed to have, even though he was like a small mobster type guy, he still had uh, family values to a small degree. His point of view of doing the family things was a little different than what a typical dad would do in a regular household today, that I think. But it's like politics and everything else. You have a hierarchy, and you either do what you're told or you get taken to the bottom. You know what I mean? That's what I could see on the sunny side of it, his character side. And seeing a young man that was willing to lie because he knew he lied, right? Uh, to hide his criminal background and to keep him in the same place that he was. He was thankful to the little boy for that. he had gratitude for him, but he was still a thug, even though his dad tried really hard and not really successfully to keep his son in a safe environment. It's just hard. It shows you kind of how hard it is to keep your child in a safe environment in that kind of environment when you're not there.
You have your family man.
Mm-hmm.
You have the boy that is shown a way to live from a nearby element. And there's a tug of war in the first act where the father's trying to get back control of his son. And you have the large character on the corner that's pretty much generational here. You have guys that are just out in front of their respective homes or apartments day in, day out, day in, day out. My dad said that was kind of what it was like to grow up where he did, because he lived in Brooklyn, not the Bronx, Brooklyn. Not much difference there, kids. Sorry. But he had a spot where they could play ball, and by playing ball it means throwing a rubber ball or a softball or football about 22 feet away from you to your friend. And that's basically how this is. The father is a working stiff, that he is a bus driver.
Mm-hmm.
And he works day in, day out. He goes to work, he gets paid not very much. So little, in fact, they do not afford a car. Lady's right. Around the second act, when the boy is a teenager, that's when the mother appears. And boy, is that a mom. Like, I'm just gonna say, like, this movie brought a lot of young men into puberty. Thank you, Catherine Narducci, who played Rosina Anello. And you have all these characters interacting, and it shows the boy when he's a young man, a young boy, and doo-wop is popular. Everything's going on, and he's wanting to get closer to the big guy on the corner, wants to see what's going on. And that kind of does happen at one point. Father is busy at work, and the boy is there with his friends and witnesses a drive-by shooting. Or not a drive-by shooting, but a shooting there where basically Carmine, who we find out later, is attacked, and Sonny, played by Chaz Palminteri, comes and blows the assailant away after the guy's been beating on this guy, smashed his car window, hit him in the head with a baseball bat, hit dent in the windshield, shatters the windshield eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And Palminteri's character Sonny shoots him. Pretty much point
I
blank.
didn't recognize who was in the car, even though I was trying to focus on who the people were involved. I didn't see the person's face. It was very fast, the way that they pulled him out. And then when he ran over there and he shot the guy a couple times after he was already on the ground, that was the part that I thought was way over the top. When that was a murder. That wasn't just protecting his friend. You know what I mean? So that was like really gruesome, I thought, for that young boy to have to see.
The young boy to have to see it, that was kind of bad, but if you have to fire a gun, I mean, I don't want to go to court against this guy. He just tried breaking into my house. I'm not going to lose my shit. Okay, I'll state this here. It's the 28th of August of 2023. Break into my home and expect at least two of these will paint your DNA on the interior of the abode. And if I have to drag you back inside, I do have a gallon of gasoline the porch will be doused in, just to make sure I can put a knife in your hands and be like, he was armed. I was in fear of my life. Oh my God.
But the thing is, I thought the way that they used the voiceover to tell the story, I've watched a few movies where they did voiceovers like that for long periods, and it was, I don't know, it just wasn't.
A
It just
distraction.
didn't. Yeah, it was very distracting from the movie. But the way they did this with the boy's voice, the older boy's voice, so
Mhm.
when he's talking about it when he's little, and you see him sneaking up the stairs to go to the bar and see the big guys, and he's telling you who they are, the different people, the guy with the pop marks on his face, and the fat guy, and all that, and the old guy that was always unlucky. When he's telling you all about it, it didn't take away from the movie at all. In a way, it kind of drew me in even more. I was more excited to find out about more and more about these characters, because of the way he was explaining it to me. You didn't have to watch them act out anything, because he was explaining who they were and how they fit into the picture with the people that he was being surrounded by. I thought that was really, really good way of doing
I
it.
I have to agree. I mean, this movie, there will be some disagreements here, I'm sure, but this movie is probably my second favorite narration for
Mm-hmm.
film ever,
Mm-hmm.
because that adds so many layers and levels into the story. It doesn't really give you everything at once. In the first act, it even withholds the mother. And I know that's kind of important for some of you. I mean, I love her too. She's beautiful. She was still beautiful on Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
She's still a beautiful lady, just amazing. Anyway, but the narration to this movie adds so much. It reminds me of the narration for Blade Runner from the 1982 cut. I want to say it's 82. The original theatrical version of Blade Runner, where Harrison Ford provided the worst
I
possible
was gonna say
narration.
that was my. I thought that was one of my favorite movies
And that's
with
one of my favorite
narration.
movies. But Harrison Ford hated it so much he tried to destroy the narration. And then worse, you have critics out there saying, "Oh, the narration just takes so much away from the film." Urgh." And I was new to this, so when I had got a chance to see Blade Runner for the first time in '83, I was amazed. I'd never seen anything like it, and I want to see more of it.
Hmm.
And I thought it was great. And then you have this movie here, which provides you a very similar narrative element, which the child goes through the various bits of trying to not be caught by dad, don't get caught by mom, but I want to see what these guys are doing. I thought that
Hmm.
was so good. That added
I
so
loved it.
much to this movie.
It was so realistic, and the little boy that they got to play the actor, he was just the cutest little thing. I just wanted to grab him and give him a big old kiss and hug. But the thing is, the way that they, when the mom went down and found him and or brought him downstairs,
Yep.
and the way she was talking to him, the way she was tugging on him and stuff, and the way he was reacting to her was very believable. I mean, it was like a very believable part for you to believe that she was really worried about him.
This
Hanging
movie
out
is
with these.
completely believable.
Yeah, it was all of it was very believable. And honestly, I thought everyone in this movie that played the guy that played Sonny, Robert De Niro, his wife, and the two boys that played those two characters, as him young
Mhm.
and him older, were phenomenal. They were so believable. It was like they were born for these parts. And the fact that they found a lot of these characters at different places and just asked them if they wanted to be in the movie is shocking to me. When I was reading some of the facts about it, I was it was amazing what good actors they all were for especially the little boy being such a young. I mean, how old was he? What, 7 or 8 years old?
About eight.
Maybe, yeah, 8 or 9. He was young, but he was so cute and he was so lovable and believable to play Robert De Niro's son. And then with the boy they got to play, the teenage boy they got to play him older, was he looked like he really could be Robert De Niro's son.
He
His
did.
side profile, everything about him.
And then you have Catherine Narducci, who she gets casted as mom, and
Hmm.
she wasn't supposed to be cast as mom. She took her kid to the tryouts for the film. She wanted her boy to be the lead in the
Aw,
first act, and
yeah,
instead they took one look at her and it's like,
we need you.
it's like, do you want to be in movies, Miss Narducci? We can We can help you with that. We can put you in an amazing film. We have a script. You want to see it? And before the day was done, she was brought in as Ma. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit there, Flatey. There's some stuff that happens post movie that it kind of goes with this territory, and we need to discuss that. Um, this this film does a really good job of showing you all the main influences the boy has in first act. Because the mom, as much as the mom is a needed voice in this film, she's the morality voice, and she's also a voice where it got very realistic for me at one point. But that happens after the young boy sneaks over to the bar where all the mobsters hang out, and he's bringing him coffee and drinks
Mm-hmm.
downstairs where they have their crap games. Now, I don't know what else Sonny was involved with. I don't care. For the elements of this movie to work, all we, the viewers, need to see is that this movie had a really realistic depiction of what you could find. A lot of places had a back room where things went on that weren't really advertised on menus. This one
Mm-hmm.
had a craps game where every guy that would normally be playing bocce ball, you East Coasters know what the fuck I'm talking about when I say bocce ball. Okay. These guys, instead of doing this outdoor activity, they're downstairs trying to roll these dice, trying to get this dice to behave. Little Sonny comes up, and he's just got magic with the dice. So yeah, I don't have luck like him. He would have rolled a 7, a 4, and a 3. Well,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, Sonny helps this guy, or Sonny puts the little boy on blast, and the little boy's name, kind of important to talk about this. His name is Calogero. Calogero is a common name from the old world, and you would hear that a lot more about 1930s, 1920s. Kind of fell out of favor. It's like the name Bruce nowadays. You would hear it a lot in the 50s and 40s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Calogero is talked to by these other Italians, and eventually they just stop calling him that. They're like, "Your name's C." Sonny gives him his name, C. And yeah, speakeasies are still big in Philly under the bar lottos and all. This stuff doesn't stop. This is going on today. Well, the little boy is brought into the fold, and he's just kind of like a favored person. He's not a consigliere. He's not a little capo. He's nothing. He's just brought under the wing of Sonny, and Sonny keeps him kind of corralled or contained. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't ever get away from this little pasture that Sonny lets him graze in. He handles the coffee. He handles the drinks. He might throw dice. Hey, Bone, how you
Mm-hmm.
doing? So all of this is going on, and that's the first act. And you can tell that by the end of the first act, he has some friends that really aren't healthy for him, but they're his age, and maybe they'll grow out of it, right? Okay. Well, second act starts, and the kid's supposed to be 17 years of age, senior year of high school.
Yeah, it was 8 years
That's right.
later.
Yeah, 10 years later, supposed to be 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still
I
got
think
the
he was
same group of.
17 because he was. I think he was a senior in school because he was still taking classes.
Mhm.
So
I
I would
was
say 17.
I turned 18 in high school in
Oh, okay.
January 4th.
I was 17. I graduated.
Lady
Sorry.
says, yeah, he basically starts as a mascot. And as Sonny and him develop a friendship, his father loses a lot of hold on him. And Sonny starts being the main person that he's looking up to for anything. And finally, like one day, his dad's trying to drive him around on the bus. Come on, get with me. The kid's like, my friend's here. Get in the fucking bus. I got to talk. I just want to see you. And so
Mm-hmm.
the dad's playing this miserable jazz music that you hear on NPR. I, I'm not going to lie. It sets the tone perfectly. And about
I
this
like that
time,
music. but I can understand the differences as your children grow up. They start to pull away from you because they don't want to be coddled anymore. They're trying to be adult. They don't realize what it means to be an adult, but that's what they do. I mean, every single teenager does that.
So when his father is driving around, he sees this beautiful girl. Her name
On the
was what?
bus.
Danielle?
No, I
Danielle?
thought her name was Jane or
Jane.
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 Yeah, Jane.
And he says Danielle or Monique. When
Yeah,
her
he
name
thinks
was
that
Jane.
she's got an exotic name because she looks exotic.
Mm-hmm.
And when she says her name is Mary or Jane, he just went, "Really?" He was surprised.
Yeah,
I thought
he's
it was
almost
adorable.
impressed.
He was very infatuated by her, but you never see anything up to that point in the movie about him having little girlfriends coming over or going over and hanging out at the park with them or in the street with the girls. You only see the couple cat calls they do when the couple girls are walking down the street wearing their short skirts and their off the shoulder blouses.
They've got the girls out.
Yeah.
They've got
So,
the girls out.
and that one guy's talking about his test for girls that,
I like that test, by the way.
all boys do that. Remember, I was a tomboy, so all the guys did that. They all talked about all their conquests over the weekend and bragged, and you could tell most of them were lying about it. They were all talking about how this girl gave them head, and this girl did this and gave them jacked them off or whatever type of stuff, and which girls were easy. And then they're all saying, "Well, next weekend I'm gonna take her out," that kind of thing. So that's why I didn't want to date any guys from my high school because they're all scum. I'm not gonna have them saying bullshit lies about me, which I knew they were doing about these girls. So that's what they do. They sit around and make up bullshit. And usually the guy that likes a girl and goes out with her, he doesn't even say he went out with her, because he doesn't want to tarnish the girl he really likes. They only talk bad about the girls that they're not really interested or that had spurned them, and they got to act all macho about it. But the thing is, it was adorable the way that he portrayed seeing her for the first time and how the camera followed her around. Like, it was just like, sure, like, it was adorable.
In the culture, in the Italian American culture or the Italian culture, they call that the thunderbolt. It's when you see your first woman that you want to like make babies with, and you can't think of much else. You get hit by the thunderbolt. And it still happens to you later on in life when you realize, why the fuck am I with this shrew? I could be with that. That's fun. I can have fun with her. I can talk to her for hours. And you still have the thunderbolt in Italian American culture. It just doesn't get brought up as much. I first read about it thanks to Mario Puzo. So I'm just saying, I really understood a lot of this because my dad, after we watched this film years ago, my dad and I talked about it, and my grandfather had this movie on VHS. It was rare for my grandfather to have movies. If he liked the movie, like, he'd watch it 40 to 70 times. This is one of those films. So,
well, the thing is, girls go through the same thing. Yeah. When they're young and they get the little butterflies in their stomach, and their palms start to sweat, and they're really excited about the cute boy at school that talks to them or whatever. But as you get older and you still have the same feelings, but now you're a little more mature about it. And now you're looking at different things. You're looking like, can he take care of me if I have a family with him, or am I going to have to work? Am I going to have to still be a cocktail waitress and get pinched by all these guys? And, you're thinking about all kinds of things like that. What this man is going to do for you. You know what I mean? Not because you just thinking about him having a fat wallet. You're just thinking about whether or not you'll be able to survive together, which is funny because so many of the guys that I talked to never felt like that. They never thought about whether they're going to be able to have a house or they're going to live in a trailer. I mean, they never even put any of that forward. They didn't even think about it at all. And so that's what was cute. And I had to ask them, they go, I really like this. What's a girl from school? She's a cheerleader. I really think that she's the one. I would like to marry her. She's just going to be a senior next year. I'm about to graduate. And I'm like, well, what do you have to offer her? And he's like, what do you mean? I go, well, how much money do you make? You make enough money to support two people? I mean, what if you guys get pregnant right away? I mean, then you can have another one. That's 3 mouths to feed. And he was like, oh, I never thought about that. So we young people don't think about that kind of stuff normally. But the fact that the dad, even though certain things would happen, like when the mother found the money stashed, right? Because when we were watching that part, and the mother had told dad, which was, I liked the way they portrayed the mother, that she was very upfront with her husband. She explained things that were going on in the house and what she didn't like and what she did like, when they were cooking dinner. And then he talked about how happy he was that they could eat steak once a week, because of his hard work as a bus driver, and, all that stuff. And then when they were sitting out on the stoop, talking, and then she gets up and he pulls her down on his lap, and they hug and kiss and stuff. I just thought it was it showed a very good romantic husband and wife, that even though in the middle of this, gang ridden neighborhood, basically, you still had people that could fall in love and raise a family and have morals, and care about each other, and him wanting to provide for his wife and his son. I just thought all that was really a really good message for this movie, and it didn't make it boring. You know what I mean? It showed for people like me that would be interested in that type of future for me, or my children. I could fall for some guy like that more than I would the bad boys. I mean, I have two sisters that's all they ever wanted. They only dated the guys that had motorcycles and, that kind of stuff. I was not. If he had a motorcycle, I was like, nah, I'm not interested. He's not going to go down the roads that I want to go down, even though I think riding a motorcycle is a lot of fun. But my mom always told me, she told all of us, but I guess I'm one of the only ones that listened to what she had to say when she said it was, why date a guy if he's not going to be someone you're interested in maybe having for the rest of your life? If you're dating, you're getting to know someone to see whether or not they have potential future with you. And I was like, that's a really smart thing to say. So that's after that, when I was in 11th grade, that's the only reason I would date a guy, was that maybe if I would go on 1 or 2 dates, and if I felt like he was too rowdy or stuck up or whatever, I wouldn't go out with him again, because to me, that was what you dated for, was to find a potential future husband or whatever. So if he didn't have what I thought I needed, then I didn't waste my time. So, well, that's the way I looked at it. But I bet a lot of people did that back then, because you got married young. A lot of people got married before they were 20.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, and they don't even know the person they're marrying. And that's
I know. That's what I did. I knew him for 3 months, and then we eloped. So
you did longer than my mom and dad. Actually, New Year's Eve, April 21st, almost 4 months. So no, about the right time.
Well, he was graduating from C school in Orlando, and he was about to go to Idaho. And from our conversations, I told him that, I'm not the kind of girl that's going to move in and live with you. I don't believe in living together. I don't believe in any of that stuff. And so he just figured, he told me he got his orders and he was going to be moving. And I said, oh, I just kind of was like shocked, because I was like, oh, well, I guess we're not going to see each other anymore. And then I said, well, do you want to get married? And he looked at me and went, what? And I said, well, do you want to get married? He goes, yeah. So we went to the mall and bought some rings, and we went to the courthouse and got married. And then we drove his little Corolla that he had. That's all he had. I didn't have a car, because I never got a car. My parents couldn't afford to buy me one. So I had taken a Greyhound bus to go to stay at my sister's in Orlando, because she was pregnant. And that's how I met him while I was there, because I just graduated from high school. But I was 17. So I went there, and we drove his Toyota Corolla. When I lifted carpet up, you could see the ground going by. It was all rusted out and everything. That's all he had, but we didn't have anything.
What year was it?
I'm not going to say.
Well, no, the reason why I say that is
No,
that
I
my
know,
mom
but I
and
don't
dad,
want to say. I don't feel comfortable.
my mom and dad had a 72 Corolla that my mom had when she saved up money. Women, gentlemen in the chat, women will find a way to secure an egg, a nest egg. Just understand that. Most of them that have a sober mindset will do that. And
Yeah, I had a little nest egg myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell anyone about it. I just kept my wad of cash hidden.
Yeah. And my mom spent hers on a car, and then she became a working lady, and she worked for Woolworths for many years. And that was her thing until her and my father pretty much eloped. And I don't know what happened after that. There was a move involving Georgia, and that's where majority of my conscious remembrances start, is Georgia. Fort Oglethorpe, great little community outside of Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents had a 4-speed Toyota Corolla as their first car together, and that was what mom brought into the marriage. My dad had, I believe he had a 70 or 71 Honda. It was a Honda motorcycle. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked him why he bought the car that he had, because I was shocked, because I put my feet on the floor and I felt like the floor was moving. And I said, "How old is this car?" And before I lifted the rug up, and he goes, "Well, when I wrecked my Volkswagen Beetle that he had, he said it was pretty old. That he basically had worked at some bar or whatever, and he was talking to somebody, and they were able to sell him this car really cheap or whatever, so he could tool around in it while he was going to Navy school or whatever." So I don't know how long he had it or whatever, but we didn't have it very long, because after I got pregnant, we had to have a safe car to have a kid in. So, but I never had my own car until I mean, years later, almost 10 years later, to where we could afford it for me to have my own vehicle to drive the kids around. So I would stay at home all day while he was at work, and when he would come home, then I would have to go shopping, do stuff after he got home, because I didn't have a vehicle.
There is a guy on the east side of San Antonio, Flady, and Bones right. Corollas back in the day were rear wheel drive. They were fun cars to drive. You find an old 70s Toyota Corolla, strap in, and if you got a helmet, get a helmet. And you're going to have fun with one of the greatest little engines that could, because that will run for about 300,000 miles stock. He had a Vega, and parents updated. They upgraded to a Cordoba. Now there is a family here in Seguin, eastern San Antonio, that they have 132 partial Cordobas on the property. So if you're looking for a Cordoba, it will probably come from here if it says Texas. They're one of our long-term.
My sister that I went to visit there, she had a Chrysler Cordoba, really fancy, nice car, because her guy had money. So I just borrowed her car sometimes and drove it around, because she went to the same place, because that's how the guy I met was in school with her husband.
Oh.
So that's how we met. And then later on, when they were on the submarine, Sandy came to visit me and met one of the other guys that were on the same submarine. And then she got married to him. So it was 3 of us all married to husbands that were all on the same submarine in the Navy, which is, weird. So 3 of us married Navy guys. And our dad was Air Force. Interesting. But yeah, I thought the whole thing with the friends, how his friends influenced things that he did, the fact that he a couple times stood up to the one bad friend, the one who was always a hothead, constantly wanted to get in trouble and stuff, he stood up to him. The other kids didn't. They all just did whatever he said or whatever he recommended because they didn't want to feel like it. And he voiced it in the voiceover. Remember, he said, well, I just wanted to get up and leave, or I just wanted to do this, but then they would call me this, or they would do this. So he stayed and did a lot of things the way he did it, because he was worried about his reputation or how he'd be treated in his neighborhood. But he verbalized that he was against it, that, that was dumb. Like when he would say bad things about the black people that would drive the bus through there or ride their bikes. He was very racist, the other kid. And he would stand up to him and say, why? They're not doing anything. They weren't, to me, that I would perfectly agree with him, that they were just walking or just riding their bike. They weren't doing anything wrong to attack them simply because you didn't want them in your neighborhood was stupid. So I like the whole storyline going around that. I thought that was a very good storyline. And showing you how the pressure of your friends can cause you to do things that you regret later on.
I really feel this comment right here. I never had a bondoed vehicle, but I had a friend that I went to the scrapyard a few times, and I wasn't the welder, but I could help get a car panel put on. And we had a multicolored party mobile because I had a friend that was a shitty driver. And I think all of us have friends that are shitty drivers. But I'm still not a good driver. I'm all right. Salvage 45 Willie. Really, Jeeps are freaking cool and amazing. Stop watching movies that support communists like El Nero. Listen, this movie was made in '93. I like this film quite a bit. Do I like Robert De Niro? Not in the least bit. But do I like this film? He directed a good movie, I think.
Mm-hmm. I thought he did too. I thought he did a very good job. And when I was watching this story as it unfolded, the whole time I'm thinking it was Robert De Niro wrote it, apparently, is what I'm thinking, because it was before I read anything about it. And then, because he was married, he liked black girls. So I thought maybe it was a story about him when he was young, and he, embellished it a little bit, but maybe that it was, based on true things that happened to him growing up. So that's what I thought. So, but I thought it was a very good, because it was after when it was really, really bad. You know what I mean? The interracial stuff. But the only reason it was really unacceptable where he was at was because what part of town they lived in, the hoodlums, the gangs, or whatever. And even if they weren't two different races, the fact they were in two different gangs from two different parts of the neighborhood probably would have been a conflict too. You know what I mean? That's what I was thinking more about. But they pushed it towards the racial thing more because of the one kid that was a racist, which was really sad.
You would have that. You'd have pockets where, like, you'd have a group of Irish people, and then you have African Americans over here, and then you have like a couple blocks where there's some Jewish types, and that you'd have that. But most people wouldn't go outside of their areas. It was very balkanized, and there were definite lines, and only the people that wanted to try or do something would start doing that, especially I hate to say the underclasses, but like when the blacks started moving in, doing that, I don't think there was really expansion thought. I don't think they were trying to do expansion. I didn't feel like they were wanting to push into, hey, we're going to start cocaine over here. I didn't feel that. I feel like they were just harmlessly riding their bikes over by him. And it kind of made me feel like the racist young man that went after the first bicyclist. I think that was probably, fairly accurate, because I think we all have that one friend that he's just a hothead and he doesn't like, you're not from here, I don't like you. You have those friends, right? Or family.
I don't know anyone who hadn't experienced some type of friend like that. I mean, you know what I mean? Either a family member or a cousin or a next door neighbor or someone that was in your Boy Scout group or your Girl Scout group or something. Because believe me, there were girls the same way that were just as snotty and vulgar and whatever as that boy that was in his gang or whatever. They never have anything nice to say about anyone, even their friends. They're always putting their friends down for their clothes or what they, what movies they liked or, what outfit they wore. They were just a narcissistic person. They were just rude and crude and mean. And eventually, as the people grow up around them, their friends eventually just go, screw this guy. I'm not going to hang around with, he's a dick, and I did the same thing with a lot of the girls. I mean, I remember one time I'll say about Sandy was at school, and I remember walking down the hallway, and Sandy had a whole bunch of books in her arms that she was carrying. It was like 10 books. And I stopped and I looked at her and I said, whose books are you carrying? Is that for a teacher? And she went, no, they're my friends. And her friends were in front of her. It was 4 girls. And I go, they're not your friends. And they all turned and looked at me because I was, a grade higher than Sandy. And they go, we're her friend. I go, how many times have you carried her books? Like, that's what I said to him. And so I knocked all the books out of her arms and I told them to pick up their own damn books or I was going to beat the shit out of them. So I told them. But the thing is that a lot of people don't have that. They feel like if I don't do this, then I don't get accepted in this group. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But I just didn't do any of that shit. I just never did. I never cared. I was lucky. I just didn't give a shit. I did have a couple good friends, and then I had a lot of people that didn't like me, but I didn't care, and I was lucky that I had that attitude because, that was, and I'm still like that. I mean, it does hurt my feelings when people do something or whatever, or say something. It hurts my feelings, but I don't go around and tell everyone, I usually just don't say anything about it, but I'm working on trying to, listen to my feelings more as I've gotten older, because it's not good for you to be upset and keep it inside. You need to vent, whatever. And because that's why a lot of people start to drink or start to do drugs or rob stores, or, or become bullies because they're venting. But instead of telling someone, they're hurting other people. So they didn't go into details about why this kid was such a snot. You know what I mean? Was his dad an alcoholic and beat him or anything? But they didn't have to, because the story was around C. It was about his story. It was about how he grew up and how he dealt with things. And I thought they did a really good job at showing group mentality, peer pressure from your friends. And even the adults at the bar that he admired so much were peer pressuring each other,
Yeah.
Except Sonny was the worst one, basically, by pushing everybody.
Worst. I think the old man kind of deserved the shit he got. And Sonny,
you mean the bad luck guy?
Yeah, the bad luck guy, the anchor, as I called him. They put him in the bathroom with the other two.
Well, he was just bad luck, and everybody. But the thing is, he was. I guess he was treated bad his whole life because he tried to pretend like he fit in and that everybody liked him, but nobody really liked him. Everybody made fun of him. Everybody, picked on him. So he was the kid that was bullied all through his whole life.
He was the Omega Wolf of this clique.
Yeah, I kind of felt sorry for him.
Yeah, me too. So, Mr. Flady, get out of here. Go get some rest, man. We will be here and have the stream up available for you. This will be on Rumble as well. I was going to live stream to Rumble. Was having some hiccup problems, and so we're just going to stream on YouTube. I'll save the file. If I need to upload to Rumble, I will. One other thing that's kind of important about this, in the second act, the boys that C is hanging out with are not really appreciated much by Sonny. Granted, C's father is not appreciative of these kids either, but he doesn't really have anything he can do because he's driving a bus. And that's
where he's working all day.
Yeah, he has to work
all day, so he doesn't get to see them cutting class and some of the dumb things that we're doing. Yes.
And of this group, one of the young actors in this young group of men is a guy by the name of Dominic Lombardozzi. And some of
Mhm.
you may have seen him in SWAT. He was in The Wire. He was in Deadpool. No, my bad. Not Deadpool. He was in. Fuck. Am I seriously? All right. Anyway, he's been in a lot of New York based shows and movies. And Dominic Lombardozzi is a guy that's selling the guns at the start of the second act. He's a
Mhm.
young kid who's got a head full of hair. Later on in life, you'll recognize him as Herc from The Wire. He has got a nice smooth pate like I do because he shaves his
Mhm.
head every day.
Yeah.
But
But
um,
yeah,
go
and
ahead.
Sonny got pissed off about it.
Mm-hmm.
Be, see what happened with Sonny was the fact that the kid he picked the kid kind of like as a mascot, like what you were saying, like a just to have some guy that looked up to him. You know what I mean? Some young kid that was impressionable that looked up to him as like he was some hero or something, right? Was impressed by him. And then over time he started to have feelings for this kid, almost like a mentor or a father like feelings, for this boy, because he didn't have his own sons or whatever. But he cared about him. He actually cared where he might end up, dead or shot or in jail, by hanging with these thugs, these young hoodlums that were going to turn out just like the people he normally fights. Right, he fights with and keeps him out of his town or out of his neighborhood. So that whole uh, relationship between them two was a part of the story that made it unique, because this boy had a wonderful mom that adored him and that would do anything for him. But he also had like two dads, two men, father figures that were very strong, and were very strong in their vision of what life should be and where you should be and how you should treat people in your life. So he was lucky to have that, because so many young men don't have a dad. They don't have someone that's there to, discipline them and teach them right from wrong. So he was really lucky to have that. At least that's how I looked at it.
Yeah, and there's a part in the first act where after helping win possibly thousands of dollars in the 1960s in a basement craps game, the little boy
Yeah.
goes home with a wad of cash, and I don't know if this is the whole wad of cash, but he's been making money for a while doing
Yeah,
this.
he saved
And the
$600.
and the mother finds $600 stashed in the boy's room. What the hell? Where'd you get this money from? And the father's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? And just tell me. I'm not going to be mad, but tell me what you're doing." And so he tells him, and the father explodes, and he's like, "Well, I lied. I'm going to get pissed." And he grabs the little boy by the hand, and they go down and talk to Sonny. The father's like, "Have your fucking money back. I don't want to have my family touching you or what you're doing, whatever it is. It's bad." And
Mhm.
Sonny's like, "I love your son. Your son's a good kid. He's a great kid. I would do anything for him. And you rejected my offer for work, so I gave it to my son, gave it to your son, and I treat him with a lot of respect. Well, do respect me and don't talk to my fucking son." I fucking love that because I could
I
hear
know.
my
I loved how
dad.
he knew who he was talking to, but it didn't matter to him because he loved his child, and he didn't
Mhm.
want this person he knew was a bad person, because this guy, he got pulled into it and his son got pulled into it because he murdered someone in the street. Okay.
Yep.
So that's all he can think about is, and his son was sneaking around against his parents' wishes, and sneaking around, and then he finds this money. So now he's come to the realization that even though he had forbid him to do it, he was doing it and he was earning money. And who knows exactly the dad's thinking all the horrible things that his son was probably seeing or doing to earn this money, even though he said, "I was just taking him coffee." Yeah, who's
And
going to believe
literally,
that?
that's all we're shown is coffee and a couple throws of the die, but he
Hmm.
doesn't say that.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you don't know that as a parent. You just, we know it because we got to see. We were in the room with him while he was doing those things. But the dad didn't know what he was doing. Was he passing drugs off for people and carrying them in a paper bag down the street? I mean, he didn't know. And all parents think the worst. Your child is a half an hour late. Okay, and you're looking at your watch and you're like, oh my God, what's wrong with them? Did they get in a car accident, or did they get hurt? Are they attacked? Are they unconscious somewhere? You automatically do that as a parent. It's the first thing that happens. I have no idea why, but every parent I've talked to, they all say the same thing. Your kid's 15 minutes late and you start worrying. So that is where the dad was. That was the difference between the Robert De Niro's character and the guy that played Sonny. I cannot pronounce his name. Chaz something. Palminteri.
Palminteri.
Okay.
Yes.
Something like that. It's a very hard name to pronounce. But
he was also in the amazing film. What is that?
Yeah, I've seen him in a lot of different things.
Yeah, he was in that movie with Paul Walker we watched last year too. Paul Walker, Vera Farmiga, and God, am I blanking? I really did not. I should have taken my.
But you've got two different points of view at a father relationship with this young man, and he turned out really, really good because he was very smart. He wasn't a racist. He wasn't a gang banger. Now, he didn't do so well in school because we know that he skipped a lot of school. Okay, and to me, I kind of thought that part of it was kind of sad because that just made me look down on the mother. The mother's home all day, but she doesn't know her kid's sitting down there being a thug, basically, So just little things like that. I didn't really like that part of it, but I understood that the story was about his relationship with the two men and the two father figures in his life.
And I love how there's a point of reality that hits right as like the father's yanking his son out to go talk to Sonny at the bar with the $600 in his hand. The mom's like, well, wait a minute, hold on. We might be able to use this. They might have given this to us. This might be something we can use. And the father's like, I don't want to hear you saying that, she's like
that. I like that part because I said the same thing while we were watching it. I said, well, the kid earned that money. Okay. As a mother, I would have said, okay, you earn this money. We're going to put it in a savings account or whatever, but you're not allowed to do it anymore because it's unsafe. You don't know who could come in there at any time. And he found that out later. Remember when the bikers came in? So the mother would have been right. But as a mom, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, that's not fair. He earned that money, even though the parents don't know for sure exactly what he did to earn it. All they know is what he told them, right? I would have said, okay, I know you earned this money, whatever it is that you did for these people, you did it and they paid you for it. So we're going to take this money and we're going to put it in the bank and we'll put it in there. And when you're 18, you can get it out. This is what I would have told my child if I had been in that situation, because the child did earn the money. He didn't just take money that he didn't earn, because he told us, and he hid it because he was afraid to tell his parents. And see, that would hurt my feelings as a mother, that my son was doing something, but he was too afraid to tell me because he knew I would say no. Even though I would have said no, I still would want my child to confide in me and tell me, I'm doing this or I did that or whatever. And then it also hurt my feelings a little bit, thinking that he didn't even tell his parents that he had a girl he liked until after he'd already talked to Sonny about it.
Yeah, he talked to Sonny first. I mean, Sonny was his go-to for everything because Sonny was there. He was available. He wasn't his father. And it's kind of interesting because when they leave the bar, the little boy kind of disrespects his dad a little bit, because he's like, wait, he could have given you a job, Dad, and there was a scene where the guy's driving the bus and you see him shifting the gears, and there's a fat Jello-like man standing next to him like, hey, listen, we got a job for you. You want a job? We can help you out a little bit. You're just walking into places and dropping off a bag with numbers. You're not even getting your hands dirty. You're just doing this quick, easy job. in and out, not even saying hi to people. You're just doing this. That's all it is. And there's Robert De Niro. Absolutely not. I am not going to be part of your blood and money circle. And it was funny. That's actually
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good De Niro. But I mean, I was really impressed with how well he was written and just denying uh, that, because you hear people like my grandfather talks about an uncle that was in his family, and there would be things that were going on, and not everybody in the Italian world is mafia guys. Okay, I mean this movie tried to kind of shine a light on that, and not
Yeah, that's
everybody.
basically what the story was about. A
Yeah,
regular working man
yeah,
that would lived in the neighborhood and was trying to raise his son and take care of his wife and family on a regular job in a city and in a big city with a small neighborhood where there was a lot of mobster type people. Okay, that controlled things around there, and the people knew who they were. They just didn't say anything. They just went on about their business and tried to live their life and stay out of it. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
and
and
he
that's
didn't.
something that's really important, because like there will be
Mhm.
people in your family, and I'll just speak from the bloodline perspective here. Like my grandfather wasn't involved with things. My dad wasn't involved with things.
Mhm.
However, um, whenever you go into places where there's obviously elements like that, you get a question. Like somebody will be like, "Hey, aren't you blah 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 son?" And they already know who you are. They already know that your dad didn't marry another Italian girl. So if you decide, yeah, I'm going to go for the easy money, I'm going to go do this because this is easy. I'm going to go like just drop off numbers. I'm going to go just do this quick score. Maybe I'll be a heavy, or maybe it'll be somebody
Yeah, and
important and
Sonny
go
said
over this.
that.
Yeah,
He when they a couple times when the other guys, well, you want us to go get him or you want us to go do this, and he said no, leave him alone. He respected him for that.
yeah,
Okay,
and a
and
lot of people do respect that, but
mhm.
just
But
I'm
no,
trying to
this was a
inform people.
guy. This was the big wig. This was the most powerful guy in the neighborhood, and he respected just a common man that worked and took care of his wife and his kid
Yeah, and a
because he
lot of
stood his
people actually
ground.
have that in these syndicates.
Hmm.
Once you draw your line, you don't ever go back on it. Like, hey, you were talking about, well, you need somebody to go do this. I kind of need that job now. You'll never get respect. First off, second off, you'll be treated like you're a half blood. Like if I were to have gone mafia, I would have never made it anywhere, because I have a mother that's not Italian. She's not anything that they value. They
But
value
I
like
wanted to
the
ask you a question
family.
about Sonny. I wanted to ask you a question that this made me. I thought about this last night after we watched it and stuff, and I was going to ask you today. The scene where the secondhand man walks over to them at the boxing match, okay, and he
Mhm.
walks up to De Niro and C, and he says, "Hey, we have two spaces for you down there," which was respectful because he's saying two seats, right? So
Mhm.
they're inviting the father too. And he said, so it's right ringside, blah, 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 if you would like to come up there. And he says no, what the dad does. But then he looks at his son because now he's a young man, and says, but if you want to go down there, you can. But when the son says no and stays with his dad, that shows you what character the son has. He's respecting his father and he's treating his father with respect, and he could have got up and left. But what I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you was, what do you think Sonny would have done if he'd left his dad and went down there and sat with him?
He probably would not have treated him the way he did. That
He would
friendliness
have
that
said,
that
you need to go
Sonny
back up
exhibited
there
to
and
him,
sit with your dad. That's what I
that would
think
have that would have ended. Like all the easy ride, all the cush shit, all the
Mhm.
lending the car, that would have stopped,
Yeah, I think
because
so too. Because
uh,
I think that's one of the reasons why he liked C so much, is because he was strong character.
mhm,
And he didn't let people talk him into doing things. And that's one of the reasons why a few times he felt he had to intervene, like when the kid was trying to show him the guns, because
yeah,
he was still at a childlike level. But now he was a young man. He was about to be out on the street on his own after he graduated from high school. So the fact that he didn't leave his dad, I think it gave him the made him feel good inside. Even though they didn't say anything or whatever, I was thinking about his character sitting down there by the ring and how what he was thinking about him denying coming to sit with him because he stayed with his father. And I think that
I think he
he
was happy.
respected him even more because of it.
Yeah, I think he was actually really happy about that
I do
because he
too.
knows.
I really do. Even though he would love to have had his own son, a son like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
and
I think he envied Robert De Niro's character for what a strong, wonderful son he made and grew and raised in that city, in
boy,
that neighborhood.
I wish that would have continued a few years later, but we'll get into that in a minute.
But also the service at the funeral service when Sonny dies,
mhm.
and he looks around as a young man and he's looking around at everybody there and seeing them talking and laughing and eating their food and whatever else. And he said, Sonny was right. Nobody cares. Except he cared. Sonny cared about him at sea, and Sonny cared about the dad. Even though he had a few run-ins with him because they're both macho guys, right? He still respected him and treated him with respect in
The
their
respect was a two-way street. Keep that in
yeah.
mind. That the respect was a two-way street, and I think after a while, I think when the boy was 18 years old, and he could have gone into some heavy things, but I think he didn't. I think Sonny was keeping him out of it. I think he didn't want him to get dirty. I think he just wanted him to be kind of like, hey, whenever we're here, you do these things for us at the bar, you'll make your money. You will
Mhm.
take care of you. You know, we know you live
But
like
he didn't
three miles.
ask Sonny to do stuff. He didn't ask
Yeah,
Sonny to take numbers and drop them off. He didn't
no,
ask Sonny. Uh,
but
Sonny
I
didn't ask C. I mean, to take
right.
numbers and drop them off, or to deliver guns, or to
No,
do any of the thong jobs. You
I
know,
think they kept him on, or I think they used him a little bit for the bar. I don't think he was used for anything
yeah, they
else.
kept him. They didn't get him involved in any of the underhanded stuff because
Yeah,
over time, now he probably would have if he didn't have a bond with him. If he'd just been some young thug like one of his friends that came over, he would be using him to do whatever trivial
yeah.
stuff. But because he
Beginning
cared
just goes
about
the
him,
lighter.
yeah, he kept him in a respectable part of their business. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I thought that showed Sonny's character. Even though Sonny was a thug, you know, a mob boss or whatever type character, he still had respect for C. And he wasn't going to put him, he was looking out for him. The fact that he let him drive his car, right?
Yes.
On his date. And when later on, when his dad was telling him he doesn't care about you, you know, he'd dump you as fast as if he thinks you did something, he'll treat you just like he does everyone else. And guess what happened that night after he came back and he had his heart broken because of what had happened, you know, with her brother getting beat up and him being
I,
involved. And then he lied to her and stuff that he wasn't there. And then he told the truth. Yeah, I was there, but I tried to help him, you know, and he finally does it. But now she doesn't know what to believe because her brother's saying he beat him up, and then he's saying he didn't, and he just met her, so she's going to take her brother's side. But then when Sonny comes over and basically is rough manhandling him, accusing him of where do you take my car because somebody put something suspicious on my engine or whatever. And that's when finally when C gets explained to him, well, maybe somebody put that on before I even came to get the car.
or
So
after he parked it.
or after he parked it and left.
Yeah.
The thing is that it made Sonny have to step back for a minute and think about it, that he was anger overtook him. And he had to think about it. He had to think about it logically. And he was right. He knows C was right about it. So, you know, I thought that whole interaction was really good. But it helped C realize that his dad was right. Everything his dad said, even though he really had feelings for Sonny, everything his dad told him growing up in his whole life about Sonny was all true. They feared him. They didn't
Yeah.
respect him.
and
Okay, but they respected his dad because he was a good man and he did his job.
I thought it was I think the movie hit a real nerve with a lot of people because the the racial tension right before that, when you have Jane and her brother there facing off against him, and they're talking about it, and then you see C just loses cool. He just, it's understandable, but he drops the pejorative, and he calls him that, and the look on her face is like he just assaulted her, just like
Well, he
a
did. He
yeah,
verbally assaulted both of
yeah,
them
yeah,
when he
and
said that.
and her acting in that moment, like I really appreciated her nonverbal acting, because that was
Mhm.
where I was like, this lady, she's going to go far, and I'm kind of sad that she's not really doing movies anymore because she's an amazingly beautiful young thing. She's my
Mhm.
age, but and
Yeah, I
in this
thought she
movie
was
she was,
adorable. I thought she was
yeah,
just adorable. I thought all their interactions that they had, they did such a good job at showing like
so
young
sweet.
infatuation. That is what I saw. I saw both of them like kind of like blushing and like side eyeing each other, and the little butterflies going off in their stomachs while
Yeah,
they're looking at each other because of the thought of what could be, the rainbow, uh, fairy tale in the background. I saw all that with them too. Their chemistry was really, really good. I felt it was very realistic and sad. The fact that we still have to deal with this kind of stupidity, the racial divide, which I don't understand because I've explained many times about the way I was raised. I was raised around all races, and everybody treated each other the same. I never heard anyone say that kind of stuff.
well,
Now, the first time that ever happened to me where I heard people say horrible stuff like that was when I don't remember what year it was, but they had brought a bunch of um, I don't remember what country they were from. It was from one of the countries that we took
Somalia,
a bunch of referees from, or refugees
Somalia.
from. No, they were like Asian. These were a bunch of Asian people. So I don't remember, but they bust them to different places all over the United States, and some of them came to our town, and Tyson had offered to give them bunches of jobs in different cities to work at the chicken plants or whatever. And I
Mhm.
just remember a lot of people, because we went to a couple of restaurants, and I remember hearing people to the side of us calling them gooks. And I asked
Yeah,
my mom, I said, what does that mean? I didn't understand what she was saying. I'm going to get emotional, so I can't talk about it. But she tried to explain to me what that meant. And I was like, why? They don't even know these people. Why were they calling them names? And she said, I don't know. Some people do that. That's all my mom said to me about that. But I remember them saying it, and I turned and looked at them. And I was like, I didn't understand, but it was very derogatory the way they were saying it. It wasn't
yeah,
that they used the word, it was the way they were saying it. And, a lot of people just walked off, like walking by and stuff, and didn't even care. But that word just hit me just right in the way he was saying it. And I never understood that. But to me, that's just wrong. It's just like someone would, because I'm wearing this outfit, look at me and say, oh, what a slut, or she's such a whore, or something like that. And they don't know me at all. To me,
that
it is no
outfit,
different. But
your outfit looks very, very much like what you'd see being worn by a woman who's married in 1960s or 70s.
but that's what I
My
did. I looked it up. I looked up 1960s women's attire and hairstyles and stuff. Now, see, I hadn't seen the movie, so I had to get something and have it ready. So I just found this shirt, and then I already had this scarf. So I thought, oh well, and then I had earrings. So I just did this. But they were a little more uh, like lower income, I guess, than what a person like this would wear. This would have been a little bit more fashion wise, but there, slim pickings when you go into like Goodwill and Marva to go shopping. But it turned out kind of cute, I guess. But the
most of my
thing is,
aunt, Most of my aunts made their own dresses and smocks
Yeah,
and
see, my
kids'
mom
wear.
did the same thing. She made lots of our clothes and stuff
Yeah,
growing up.
the sewing machine was the factory, and mom was the sole employee that was working herself to the bone in her own sweatshop, and
Hmm.
that was in every family in my family. That's like how just where it was, like she made half the clothes that the kids would wear to school. She made, if not all the clothes, half of them were at least made by mom. In every one of my aunts or uncles' families, the mom did that. That was just back in the day, guys. We didn't have taxes that forced two incomes out of your parents. You had
But I
mom would stay at
remember
home.
we would go to ball games, and I never played basketball. I never wanted to play basketball. I didn't like basketball. I didn't really watch it. I didn't understand it. My mom was a big baseball fanatic, so I grew up watching lots of baseball. But I remember all my mom telling me, you got to do something in sports. And I'm like, I just don't know what to do. She goes, you can be a cheerleader. And I was like, what? Because I was such a tomboy. I wore blue jeans and a t-shirt with a flannel shirt over it and my hair in a ponytail and a ball cap. That's basically, I mean, I didn't wear makeup. I didn't do any of that. I had sisters that spent hours blow drying their hair and putting on all this eye makeup and stuff like that I do now. I really wish I'd liked makeup back then because I love doing it now. I love how I feel when I dress up and fix myself up compared to what I just didn't care when I was a kid. I don't know why. I wish I did. But my sisters always tell me it's nice to know that you were really a girl in there. So whatever. But to me, the whole thing, the whole way that they treated each other in the neighborhood because of race, there was the race thing. And to me, it's the same thing. Just like I said, when you're calling someone, making fun of someone because they're fat or they're skinny or they look like they're on drugs or they have acne really bad or they're flat chested because I got made fun of all time. My nickname was Dolly Niblets. That's what they called me in 11th grade. Lots of the guys because I didn't have boobs and I had a sister that was younger than me and she had massive boobs. And a sister above me that had graduated like 3 years earlier, she was blonde and she had huge boobs too. And I had nothing because I was just tall, athletic build. But but I got made fun of because of it. And I just think it's mean. I just think it's horrible. And I never picked on people. And I was
What
the
did the
one person
mailman
that
look
would
like?
push people around. What?
I asked, what did the mailman look like? He's this tall, Stretch Armstrong looking guy.
Well, I don't
Just
know.
kidding.
I know
We all know. I've seen your
but
sisters. Your
my
sisters are all
youngest
definitely
sister
sisters.
and I look a lot alike. Jennifer and I look a lot alike. And, a lot of people have told me that I look at my mom a lot like my mother. But, you just remember you get half your DNA from your mom and half from your dad. So all the
You
little stuff trickles down and you get this or that, it's just a crapshoot. You throw the dice, you just get what you get. But no,
I mean, you're definitely an attractive lady. From what I've seen of your family, you have attractive kids. Like it's going to follow through. You're going to have a good looking great grandkids too. Don't be worried
but the
about it.
funny thing is, when I had my DNA done, most of it was from like Welsh, and European and stuff like that. But then I had 5% Italian. So somebody made a comment that my grandmother, my great grandmother or whatever, went to Italy for spring break. So I was like, maybe, I don't know. But but it is interesting. I think all that's interesting. But the thing is that this movie was based around people that were Italian. This was like the Italian part of the neighborhood, just like they had Chinatown down the road, and then you had the blacks town, and then you probably had a Hispanic area. It was all breaking down racially, and they still do that in cities. As far as I can tell, that's where you got was it M13 or whatever?
Yeah.
You got the different gangs. You got the Crips and the Bloods and the whatever, all the different things. Like that movie I love, the Warrior movie. It was all broken down by gangs. And they treated each other. It didn't matter what your skin color was. It was where you were living, who your gang was. That was the important thing.
Who's your tribe?
Yeah, who's your tribe? But remember
Um,
how they treated the one girl? How he treated the one girl, and they were all treating her really bad. They ended up hanging out with them, and then when she was pulling on her clothes and stuff, trying to make herself look better, when those really fancy people from the prom sat down in the subway, and he grabbed her hand and held her hand so she would stop doing fidgeting because he felt sorry for her. He had compassion for her feelings, and that's what I'm talking about the different things that were going on in this movie, and that's what Sonny had for C. He had compassion for him and wanted to see him be successful one day, to grow up and be a man, and be able to
yeah,
have
he
a woman, a
really
wife.
didn't like Sonny's friends.
Mm-mm. Because he grew up with them. See, that's the thing. He was one of Sonny's friends as the
No,
kids.
no, no,
He
no.
he had
He
that
did.
environment.
Yeah, he had that environment, but
Mhm.
Sonny really hated the friends that C had. He's like, just get away from them. You know, those kids. They get a firearm. They get a gun in their hands. They're gonna hurt themselves. Nobody else. You know,
Mhm.
and he
Yep.
was right. You
And he
know,
was right though, because he grew up with that. Just like his dad told him, I had this on. My parents wanted me to have a better life, and that's what I'm trying to do for you. I'm trying to give you a chance outside of that.
yeah,
But one day when you're older, you're going to understand. And he does. That's why the story is so good, the way it's narrated and stuff. He's explaining what his dad said to him and how Sonny talked to him and what his mother said to him, and how he was raised by those three people in his life and his friends and the influences he had around him from the neighborhood, and how his life evolved because of all the things that were involved. But he was a lucky man because he had three people that loved him, cared about him, and cared that he survived to wake up tomorrow. See, and so many people, young children today, don't have two parents, let alone three people to help them. They barely have one parent. It's amazing that we have some of those wonderful stories that come out of the different neighborhoods like that, of people that broke out and were successful, either singing or acting, or they invent something or start their own business, like, what was it, Tom Walton or whatever his name was. He scraped together enough money and opened a little five and dime
yep.
store, and next
And
thing you
Sam
know,
Walton later. Next thing you
yeah,
know, he's
Sam
in
Walton,
Arkansas.
he has all these stores, but then, which was great, the way everything was ran. I just remember hearing so many people talking about what a wonderful company it was to work for them. And then all of a sudden he dies, and then all the children take over,
All
and
the
it
kids
becomes a it
just
becomes a crappy place to work. And it's falling apart. It's no, just like Disney World. I guarantee when Disney first started, it wasn't the corrupt piece of shit that it is today. The corporation is now. It's because the people that took over that whole story, Willy Wonka story. We're gonna have to do Willy Wonka one day, because the whole story premise behind it was that he was trying to find someone that thought about the Oompa Loompas and about the children's candy and things like that, that wouldn't want to make it all theirs. They would want to keep it the way that he had started it. See? And he's right. That's the sad fact about greed that happens to people and changes you, especially a grown up. Once you're a grown up, you're influenced by money and greed and getting more than your neighbor has. So you have to get them when they're little and try to program them or whatever, and raise them to more of someone that cares about other people and stuff like that. It's definitely, I know I said program, but it's basically the same thing. It's conditioning. It's just like when you join the military and you go to boot camp, they basically have to break your spirit and make you a team player. They make you think more about who's got your back and are you going to have their back, that type of thing. So that's basically what Sonny was trying to do with getting him away from his friends, because he said one day those friends are going to get you killed, or he said they're going to get you arrested or worse. So he was right, though.
that was very true, because
Mm-hmm.
once he lets Sonny go, after Sonny plead, or after once he lets C go, I mean, he just begs for his life, because he's being accused of putting a bomb in the car, or knowing what's going on. I don't got a clue what's going on. I love you. You're a mentor to me. And, he spills the beans of his devotion to him. And so Sonny lets him go. But, it's just kind of weird how all this is happening. And then his buddies are like, hey, look at our bar. They egged our hangout. Let's go get them. They egged it, guys. They egged it. They didn't like shoot it up. They didn't, break windows. Eggs. They used eggs. I can't remember the last time I've egged anybody's house or car
We used to do it all the time. Toilet paper for eggs.
Yeah, that used to be a lot.
Yeah, that was sad. But see, that was one hothead. When he came and he saw what they had done to their place, how does he know for sure that was who did it? Too. Did he see him do it? See, that's what I mean too. They jumped to conclusions on who did it, and because they did that, they had to make it worse. And then they had all those Molotov cocktails in the back of the car, and that kid lights up a cigarette. So you heard a couple other ones argue and say, "What are you doing? Are you stupid?" That type of thing. So a couple of them were thinking a little bit higher level than the one who wanted to do all this shit, but not enough to step away from it. And I kept saying, oh my God, he's going to get blown up. He's going to be, because I had seen the movie, so I didn't know whether he was handicapped or he'd been burnt up or, they got in a car accident or what, because I hadn't seen it. And I don't like to read the story plot or anything like that before I get to see it. So the only thing I looked up was women's costumes and clothes from the movie. And then there wasn't that many women in it. So that was really hard. So I just looked up hairstyles and stuff from, in the 60s. And I think it was like 1963 or 64 up to 1968 or something like that, up in that area. So that's what I
away for about 3 minutes. I want to make you full screen, okay?
Oh, okay, fine. Well, now I feel like I'm on the spot and I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
I got to step away for a minute. I'll be back.
Okay, but I really thought that everything they did about the neighborhood was really good too, because they definitely kept, they gave you a feeling of what it was like to walk up and down the blocks and people mingling, people sitting outside their businesses, things like that. And then all the old cars sitting around and driving around. And then the bicycles too. They even seemed authentic from the 1960s with the way bigger tires and things on it. They did really good on the detail to keep you in the theme of it being the 1960s. And the costumes that everybody wore, I loved. I loved the suits and stuff like that. To me, that's why it seemed more mobsterish to me, is because Sonny and his group were dressed nicely. They were wearing like suit jackets, and some of them had ties on. They had nice shoes, and they were clean shaven. They weren't, scrubby or, really gruff looking. So when Sonny agreed to let the bikers that showed up have drinks, I was surprised by that, because I really didn't think he would do that. So I think he made that decision because he was there and he was trying to act more, show him that, sometimes you give people a chance or whatever type thing, even if you think in the back of your mind, like I was saying earlier about not choosing to diss someone simply because of the way they're dressed or by what you think might happen, trying to not judge people, right? But sometimes it comes back and slaps you upside the head, which is what happened, because before he even got to walk out of the bar, they were already causing a problem. So they had to shut the door and lock it. And the whole way he explained, when C explained that he was shocked by looking at all the bikers' faces as they came to the realization that they're all going about to get their asses kicked, or they were going to die. They were going to be shot because they messed up when they realized they bit off more than they could chew. So that whole scene was really, really exciting and intense, seeing them fighting. And everybody come running out of the back room to kick some ass. So I thought that was a really exciting scene to give you a taste of what the mafia type people would do. You know what I mean? To protect their property or whatever. But to get to see the bikers react that way. They ended it pretty quickly. The fight didn't last very long, and it didn't seem like anyone got the crap beat out of them that were in Sonny's gang. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I thought that was a little one-sided. That I don't think that they're a very good gang of motorcycle thugs if they didn't even take out one person. You know what I mean? So that made it more a little of theatrical than actually what I would feel would fit the story of what have probably really would have happened. But I'd never seen this story before on Broadway or anything like that, because I think it was a Broadway play before they made this into a movie, the actor that played Sonny. But the look on the C's face after he got to watch all of this and seeing what happened to him after they took him out, threw him on the ground out by their bikes, then they beat their bikes and everything. And so in a way, that was like telling C that it's okay to beat the shit out of people. You know what I mean? If they do you wrong or they go against what they said they were going to do for you. So I don't know. It was kind of like a lot of mixed messages, I felt, that Sonny was sending to C on his character, to teach him that to I don't know. I don't know if you can really teach anybody that type of thing, because you can't judge every single person by what you think they're going to do. I mean, to me, I know it sucks that we can't do that. I mean, we shouldn't do it, but most people do it. And I've seen more bad things happen because people were judged before anything even happened. We see it all the time when you all of a sudden they say, this person went into this club and attacked all these people because they were gay, okay? And that this person was most likely a right winger or whatever. And then later they find out the guy was gay and he was doing it for a totally opposite reason. So I just wish that we could get more back. When I was young, they had, I think it was called Headline News or something like that on TV. And they just had the news all the time. It was like every 15 or 20, 30 minutes, they had all the new headlines of things that were going on around the world. Well, to me, it seemed real. I mean, it seemed like they were just talking about fires or a train crash or, some pile up on some interstate, things like that. It was actual things that were going on, like skirmishes going on in another country, things like that. It was always the news, but it seemed like it was real news. Today, it almost seems like all you hear is commentary. They talk about this, that, and the other, but they're not really talking about that this happened and that this person did this or whatever. They don't. They embellish everything and they add commentary instead of factual information. And I just wish we could get back to doing that type of stuff. Oh, hi, Jerry. Thank you for stopping by. I just saw you in the chat. I'm sorry. I wish I could pay attention to the chat better. Maybe one day I'll be able to read and talk at the same time. But as of right now, I'm not very good at it. Oh, hey, Bruce. I've been talking my head off. I don't know if you could hear me. I talked about the biker stuff, the fight that was going on.
That was a very interesting scene. And that's like the only real hint you get at what Sonny's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good hint, don't get me wrong. And you kind of had a clue before because, he shot that one guy like in the face numerous times.
Well, yeah, but see, the thing is, right off the bat, when he shot the guy from the distance, okay, he shot the guy and he shot him again and he walked over to the car. The guy had already fell down on the ground. We don't know how bad he was hurt, but then he stands over him and he shoots him 2 more times, which is pretty much you're thinking in your head, he's shooting him in the head, right, and getting rid of him. He executed this guy.
You don't
but we
really
don't know
talk to
why.
a lawyer.
But you know what I mean? He executed this guy. So right off the bat, the little boy knew when he lied that he didn't see him do anything, that he was doing the right thing because he wasn't a rat. You know, because he's
Yeah.
I may do a lot of things, but I'm no rat, or whatever. Because that's what he learned from living where he lived. But then later on, knowing Sonny just being involved with Robert De Niro's character and his son in his life, it softened him a little, I think, over time. I think that it made him a little bit better person than he would have been if he didn't ever have seeing his life. Does that make sense to you? Did you think that kind of like came across to him that way? Because that's how it came across to me. It seemed like this boy growing up there helped a lot of people in his life. Um, and I think he helped a lot of the guys that hung out with him, not just Sonny, but the other guys getting to hang with him because it changed Sonny a little bit to where Sonny was more like the fact that he even let the bikers stay. That's what I was talking about. How at first he judged them instantly because they were bikers. Now he was proven wrong when he shouldn't have let them stay, which most people would have said, well, you shouldn't have let them stay in the first place. You knew they were going to cause problems, but he really didn't. And he was trying to show C that he can do that he can not judge a book by its cover. You know, he can open it up and find out, and he did. And he opened all
I,
their heads basically with a club. But
I
yeah.
had a lot of family in central New York that was Hell's Angels. And that's probably the closest to organized crime that my bloodline gets into is they were part of the Hell's Angels motorcycle club back in the 70s.
Mhm.
And that they weren't exactly a lawful good bunch of people, but they really, unless you were involved with what they were doing, you were not on the radar, which is how most people should want to behave. I don't want to be on the radar. I don't want to
Mhm.
involve myself with
Mhm.
that's how it was. And I'm not saying the entire organization was like completely like filled with like cocaine dealing, wife abusing pieces of shit that
Yeah.
are there's those people that were there, and that's in almost every organization that makes some money illicitly. You still have guys that they do the wrong thing, but other than that, they try to pay their bills on time. They try to show their wife a good time. They try to show their wife off at church on Sundays. They try to live the life to where they do lie to the world and say, I have a little prestige. I want to make sure that I'm presenting the best version of myself, at
Mhm.
least for this 30 minutes or hour. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, I really I really like the part where they have the biker scene because you get to see that even though Sonny has softened a bit and he's started taking some hints on how to be a good mentor, he can still do the right thing for his organization, and he proves that.
And his neighborhood.
Yeah,
Because remember,
he
that's what he
proved that.
said. I do this because this is my home.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
love the part where he locked the door to the bar
Yeah, that was
and he
good.
got disrespected. It's like if anybody here ever has a situation where that happens, if you're out and like something like this starts to happen, if you can take a seat and be a non-participant and just watch for science sake, you're going to get a good schooling. Okay, you're going to get a real good way to like how to do stuff probably the ugliest way possible. Uh,
Mhm.
if you're the person that they're looking at when they lock the door, you're going to get hurt.
Don't be standing by him.
Yeah, don't be
Go
standing
to
by
the
the
other
guy that
side of the room.
spewed beer
Yeah,
at him.
sure.
It was funny, I mean, I thought the scene was really well done. I remember watching uh my cousin or my uncle Johnny J watching this whenever this first came out because he was part of the Hell's Angels, and he's like, I could see this happening. I could
Mhm.
see this happening. He had his there were those guys in his crew that were jackasses, and they would get rolled by guys that were kind of wise guys, and that's just part of the business. I mean, they didn't have lasting injuries, but they were definitely given a, hey, let's not go over here and act like assholes again. They
Have
were
you
given that
ever
lesson.
met anybody in a motorcycle gang?
Have I?
Hmm.
Yeah, my cousin Johnny
Oh,
J,
okay. Because
my
I
uncle
I
Johnny J.
have gone to a couple barbecues and other functions and things like that, and other get-togethers with a few people that are in, biker gangs,
Yeah,
and they can be very aggressive. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's a different environment, and a lot of people aren't expecting that. But it's uh, there was a show on TV that there was a sequel called the Mayans, and
Mhm.
Sons of Anarchy. Those two shows try to be pretty accurate, but there's parts about them where, like, if you drive somewhere with a car, don't wear your colors when you get out. Don't put on your jacket when you get out. You left your bike at home,
Yeah.
so just leave your colors off your body.
Mhm.
And that was something that I remember the other side was telling me, like, this would never happen. Like, these guys would never go in a truck and then wear their colors when they get out of the truck.
Mhm.
That's not how it works. Um, but it's kind of interesting how this movie kind of changes gears a little bit for the biker scene, but then it goes right back into how everything kind of ties in that last 30 minutes, where you have the brother telling the sister, "Your friend didn't actually attack me. I was just trying to be tough." And so Jane goes back, "See, I'm sorry. My brother said he lied. He fucked up."
But
And
the wait before you say that part, remember, C goes over there with the other people from the bar, and they say, "Hey, uh, your friend Jane came by looking for you." So if they were racist or whatever, they wouldn't have told him that. They would have said, "Hey, you're so and so, whatever,"
yeah,
in a derogatory way, came by here looking for you. You see what I mean?
and if the movie would have been made 10 years before, it would have
Mhm.
pulled no punches. It would have actually, if there was a derogatory moment to be made, they would have said it. In '93,
Yeah.
uh, that pejorative that I don't say too often, that
Hmm.
was said once, no, twice in this movie, I think, maybe three times. But you have very low volume of that being said in this film. Uh, where my dad grew up at in Brooklyn, you would hear people call that, if you're talking about the Harlem people, you would hear that every 15 to 30 seconds. And it was just, I mean, that was the environment he came from, and he did not instruct me how to say that. That was something I learned later on, many years later, living in Peoria, in the same real estate where Richard Pryor had lived.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, you hear that, and it wasn't really quote unquote derogatory, but it can be taken a certain way depending on who says it, depending what tone of voice they have, depending if it's a joke or if it's an
Mhm.
actual accusation to somebody's face. And it's really weird. I would love it if we lived in a society where I could say that. I don't have any Guinea or WAP friends that get upset when I say Guinea or WAP. They don't get pissed at me. But if I say another word that might describe another hereditary type, like, they get pissed. How dare you cancel them, cancel them. Well, you motherfuckers don't get pissed at the government for canceling 30% of your fucking take home, do you? Oh, well, wait. If you're on the dole, if you're on the fucking take, you got your hand out, you don't really give a shit. But if you're out there struggling and trying to work and trying to make it all stretch, and I say something no word, you're gonna get pissed. I don't get this.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think people got their priorities fucked up, because, like, they get upset at what they hear, what other people say, and not trying to look at context. Oh my god, he said this one word, bah. But instead they look at that, and there's somebody that's telling them, if they say no words, you get a free strike against them. We'll give you another gallon of milk. It's like, what the fuck. You're not upset because they gave you a free gallon of milk for $40 in taxes. that they shoved on your family. Or if you don't pay
Hmm.
taxes, you know your neighbors that do, they're struggling. Everybody's struggling, but now it's worse. No, I'm sorry. Um,
Well, what I growing up, what this movie made me think of was all the nicknames they had for all these different races and stuff, or different people that lived in different areas.
oh yeah,
Like I can't even think of wetbacks. They just had all these tacos. I mean, it was just tons of names because I moved around a lot. I lived in Spokane, Washington. I lived up near Windham,
wait,
Connecticut, Kittery, Maine. I mean, Idaho Falls. I lived in Orlando, Florida. I mean, it was just everywhere. I just traveled all around. Then I had relatives in Texas, in Plano, in Louisville, Texas, in Bonham, in Denton. And then I had relatives in Arkansas. And then, all just I had so many relatives everywhere that we would go visit, and every time we traveled or whatever, you get to see lots of different things and how different cultures and stuff, because you're just in different places all the time. So I was just lucky to get to have that type of experience, but mine were never. I was lucky because I just didn't see a lot of crime
you
or
don't
people
have the
being treated
experience of the
bad.
crime and the racism because as a military brat, you're kind of in a homogenized society. And that was
Mhm.
kind of the one great thing the military did, where they didn't give a shit what color you were. They don't give a fuck. They want to know, can you carry this backpack of 65 pounds of stuff for a
Mhm.
couple miles, maybe 13 miles? Can you do your 50 push ups? Can you do your mile and a half run within 13 minutes? That's all
Mhm.
they really give a fuck about. And if you can do all that, you get to wear this uniform. Everybody's blue, or everybody's green, or everybody's whatever the
Mhm.
whatever
And
the uniform of
we
the
had
day
a
is.
commissary, we had doctors, we had dentists, we had a church, we had a movie theater.
Yeah,
I had a couple restaurants and stuff, and
and
everybody was just the same.
you're
Everybody did
never
their thing. We played at the park. Just everybody was treated the same way. It
yeah.
wasn't until you went off base and you interacted out there that you started seeing stuff. That to me was just terrible, because people treated each other so bad. Fist fights, and you know people just people stealing, and people's car would be up on the blocks, and all their tires and stuff would be gone, things like that I just never saw. Because even like trick-or-treating on the base, we'd take whole pillowcases out, and we would be all over the place, and we didn't have to worry about, we never worried, my parents never worried that we'd stay together, but we didn't have to have a grown-up with us all the time, because we stayed as a group. And I don't remember ever having anything in my candy, or anybody ever trying to do anything to anyone that I ever saw, you know trying to snatch a kid or anything like that. I was just so coddled. Maybe that's why I'm so naive about so much stuff, because of my lifestyle growing up. I just didn't get to be exposed to a lot of these things. And it just breaks my heart when I hear some of these stories about, things that happened to some of these people growing up, and things like that didn't live like that. And it's just hard, but it doesn't mean I don't believe them, and I have empathy for them, and I have compassion for them. I wish I could help somehow. Um, but, and then I have a lot of people say that, they hate the military, they this, that, and the other. But to me, I never saw the military not do something good for people. That's just, it's a totally different perspective on everything, because of how I grew up. And, I guess I'm the naive, dumb girl that sat in the corner and just didn't believe in anything. But that wasn't it. I lived. I went to school. I went fishing. I went camping. I did all kinds of stuff. I just wasn't exposed to a lot of the. And if somebody was a drunkard, or beat their wife, or whatever type of thing, I don't think they could get away with it very long, because somebody would find out. And how do you go to work, if you're drunk all the time, or, covered with bruises or whatever, that type of stuff. So I don't know. I'm thankful for it because my mom and dad did a good job of trying to just raise us to be, caring individuals, care about other people, things like that, and animals and stuff. So I was lucky to have that. But the whole thing when C has they get there and they find out about the eggs and everything, and then he gets in the car with them, and there's that box of all
Molotov
those
cocktails.
Molotov cocktails, and the kid lights up the cigarette and everything that I was talking about earlier. Um, they're all freaking out, but that's when all of a sudden, I'm paranoid. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, Sonny's beating on the window. Get out. He's yelling, get out. And then this smart ass kid that gets everybody in trouble, he basically wanted to just punch him knock his lights out. That's what he wanted to do, but he didn't. But he did, bash his face into the dash because he was being a shithead, and he got C out of there. So that was good. Saved his life. He would have died.
Yes, he saved his life right there.
Mhm.
And then they, after that scene, like I was kind of like done with that group of kids. Like I thought, man, they're rolling around and the kids trying to smoke a cigarette. I've got to read or I've got to see where they like drop an ash and it causes a rag to catch on fire. And I'm just watching this blow up in my head because I've watched a lot of Canon movies. And in Canon films, like if you see a $300 car, you know what I'm talking about. You see a $300 car,
Yeah, that car's got to get it. They're going to blow it up.
They're going to blow it up. They're going to Michael Bay.
But see, the thing is, when you make movies, they have a picture car. Okay, so you always have more than one picture car. They all look identical. So you got to have 2, 3, depending on what you're going to do to this vehicle. You have to have more than one of them because they got to make sure that it's. If it goes on a dirty road, it gets all dirty. That the second car, when it's in the other place where they went, has dirt all over it. And it looks about the same, or it has smudges on it, or it has a cracked windshield. They have stickers or whatever that they make it look like the other one that was smashed, the real one that they smashed, things like that. So that's the details of it. That's why they take so many pictures, and you'll see lots of set pictures. And the reason they do that is because they want the actors, whether they got bruises or blood or whatever, they want the blood and the bruises in the same place for continuity. Yeah, for the continuity, for it to all flow. So when, just like I said, you'll do a scene and you have like 5 people in a circle and they're all talking like a football huddle or whatever, and you have the cameraman going around, like this, and it's doing their faces of everybody in the circle. Well, when you're having a conversation between 2 people and they're talking, you have a camera at this angle, and then you have a camera at that angle, but you don't have 2 cameras normally on set. You film the one angle, and then you do another angle, a separate routine from the side, so you can see them both, and then you have another one from this side. That's 3 different scenes where they've had to say the same dialogue over and over and over again, and try to remember to, if you touch your hair or you do something to your shirt, you got to do it again in the next scene, because when you edit it all together, it's got to edit and flow like it was one scene, which normally a lot of people don't film that way. That you hear every so often that so-and-so said he just kept filming and didn't stop, when he's moving the camera around, whatever. But it's hard to edit and get a good facial features from all the different actors that are involved or whatever. So it just depends on the director's vision of what they want. But that's the thing. When you have a person with a cup and they're walking around with a cup sideways like this, it just looks empty, because most of the time it isn't got anything in it. So they got to make it look like there's something, or a bag of groceries. If they got a bag of groceries and there's a big loaf of bread sticking out and she's talking to the lady on the street, and then you get the other angle and they're looking at the lady, and now the loaf of bread is gone, the continuity's messed up. See, that's where you got all those people that look for bloopers, and that's what it is.
There's an entire part of IMDb that is set up to catch this shit after the fact and after the movie's quit wrapped. Like they love, IMDb loves to put their goofs and continuity errors together.
What was funny is before I did anything in the movies, I never noticed that shit. That's hardly ever said. But now it's like I can't watch anything without going, oh, there's what, look at that. Look at, I find all this stuff. Like The Walking Dead, when the old man had lost his leg and they had cut it off because he got bit, right? And so they cut off his leg below the knee. Well, they're sitting around a picnic table, okay, and they're all talking with all of them. And then you see the cameraman's going around, whatever, right? And then later there's a shot and you see he's got two legs under the table. So they didn't edit that out or didn't have a sleeve on it to cover it up so that the camera wouldn't pick it up. That type of stuff. So it just really ruins it for you. Once you start knowing that stuff, it's hard to sit and watch anything without noticing every stupid mistake that people make. And, that kind of sucks a little bit. And you get to know people personally. You get to see what a dick they are to their mom on set, telling her to shut the fuck up and shit like that. You're like, I don't like that guy. And so I won't watch a movie with that person.
At 21:22, Janet's dropped the F-bomb.
Sorry. But you know what I mean? You see them on a normal thing, acting normal behind the scene and or acting nice on camera, and then you see what they really are like, and you're like, I don't like this person, and I will never buy a ticket to go see anything they're in because I just don't like them. They're assholes and they're not good people. So I'm very judgmental about stuff like that.
And there's actors that I like that you've told me like I don't want to watch any of their movies. I've worked with them. I don't want to do it.
Hi, Rob.
Hey, Rob Brock, how you doing, sir? So after Jane and him kind of make amends, he remembers like, oh shit, there's a car speeding down to your neighborhood with a bunch.
Yeah, that's when she said something about my brother told me that he lied, and that's when he goes, oh no, we gotta go, because he remembered that they were gonna go get those kids, and they got Molotov cocktails in their vehicle after he got taken out. So that's why they're speeding there to get there, but they're too late when they do get there. But it's a gruesome. That whole thing was a gruesome mess.
That there was a book that they forced us to read as high schoolers called Hot Rod. Did you have to read Hot Rod?
No, I don't remember.
Hot Rod is a book about a young kid that's getting ready to turn of age, and he's a gearhead. He knows how to work on cars and engines and get the carburetor to properly process any sort of fuel. He can do it. He's a hot rod.
Yeah.
And he is the neighborhood king basically among all the kids, and he's the first one to get a car, and he shows the kids what you can do with a kit car, and he decides that he's able to kind of race, and he shows the kids in the neighborhood what he can do, and then the kids are impressed because he can go around a dirt road corner, and he can pretty much drift a car around a 90, and it's a pretty cool maneuver. And then they have a festival where the kids that are turning 16 that year, you all get to go to the track, the local mud track, and here's your car with a half tank of fuel. Try to go as far as you can. And the kids just like having a grief moment. Like, if we would only have a test where having more power mattered, I could succeed. And he doesn't do so well at that test, but he's okay. The other people are watching him. They're like, hey, you did good. You got about 5th place out of like 20. That's not bad. He's like, I should have won. Well, anyway, one of his younger friends grabs a car from his relatives and takes his little brother out, and we're driving around in the country roads, and he says, I want to be like our friend Max, and he tries to drift around asphalt 90, and the car rolls, and since this is like the 60s or the 50s, neither kid's wearing seatbelts. Butchered kids inside. Just one of them is alive, one of them is dead, and people arrive, and Max is with him, and the cop that's there says, Max, I believe in you. I'm going to escort you, and we're going to go your speed to the hospital. We got to save this boy. There's no ambulance. And so he takes him to the hospital, and the description of the body that's somewhat alive still they give reminded me of the cooked beef that you see that they drug out of the car in this film when the Molotov cocktails exploded. And I was like,
Yeah.
and nothing of value was lost. But I like that because they showed proper burns. They really did. They did a good job of the burn units. I thought
Mhm.
that was very realistic. And
Yeah, I remember a movie. I don't remember what movie it was, but I remember someone made a comment about one of the burn victims in this, and they said, "Oh, look at it. It looks fake." And I said, "Why do you think it looks fake?" And they said, "Because it looks all greasy or whatever, like
yeah,
they put too much makeup on." And I said, "Hey, that's what it looks like under your skin is fat. It's a layer of fat. So when that burns, it's grease." Just like bacon grease. And when it
yeah,
cools off, it starts to look like bacon grease. It's white and clumpy and it's disgusting. So I could never do it. I could never be a paramedic or do any of that stuff. I mean, I would be throwing up on people. I mean, I
mhm.
can get a shot every week and I can see needles and stuff like that, but or cuts, I could see blood and things like that. But it's the real gruesome stuff. It's really tough. You got to be the right kind of person to be able to do those types of jobs. I know I couldn't do it. Not even on an animal. I don't think I could, um, handle seeing stuff like that on an animal either.
It was
Yeah.
pretty interesting to see that scene, and they did it right because they're
Hmm.
trying. This movie does a really good job of trying to dissuade the impressionable youths to not want to be gangsters, and
Hmm.
it does a pretty good job. That scene, if you linger on that, if you pause, if you're showing your kid this movie, pause that screen when they've got the burned bodies there and say, I want
Hmm.
you to take a good look at this because this is you and your friends on a Friday when you're acting stupid.
Yeah. See
Don't
the part that you brought up about uh, the other kids that had egged, like you kept saying, they just egged a building. That's
yeah.
all they did. They threw eggs at it. But they were going to retaliate and use actual Molotov cocktails on the other
Mhm.
people. There's
Yeah,
a
we
big
went from
difference
egging
getting hit
to
in the
Molotov.
head. Yeah, being hit in the head with an egg, yeah, it's going to hurt and you're going to be messy and you're going to piss you off. But it's way different than getting hit in the head with a Molotov cocktail. So when that one guy inside that business that was all burning picked up that one Molotov that didn't break and he threw it, and you just got to watch it coming towards the camera, right? And then it goes inside the vehicle, and then the whole thing exploded. That was really sad to see that, and I was thankful that Sonny wasn't in, not Sonny, but C wasn't in the vehicle when it blew up, because you knew what was going to happen as soon as you saw that bottle coming, because you were thinking it was going to happen any moment up to that when that kid was smoking in there and stuff. So you were anticipating
I
that
was so
something really
happy.
bad was going to happen. Yeah.
I was so happy it was an actual unexploded Molotov that was thrown back in. And that was a catalyst because you see the four bottles that are there, and then the fifth
Hmm.
one comes rocketing in, and then the kids start going, "Oh my god, oh, put it out!" Ah! And then it kablooey. Like
Yep.
the I yes, I've been on a volunteer fire department. No, I've not played with fire in terms of like blowing up a car like that. We've done
Mm-mm.
car scenes before and did get the chance to use the jaws of life once. Yippee! But
Mhm.
I've got to say that um, when a car starts to go up, typically the insulation on the interior of it, if it's not well maintained, that will catch fastest, and you'll see the fire licking up the interior sides real quick.
Mhm. Yeah.
Same thing with a semi trailer and tractor. This is the book that I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hot rod.
that is the book Hot Rod by Henry Gregor Filson. I want you guys, if you get a chance, if you've got a kid, a young kid, a dumb kid, like something that's like 17 or 15, around those ages, get this for them on either tablet or find a hard copy. This is like $16. It's a hell of a read, and there's a really vicious and visceral uh, death scene that the dumb kids have in here. So, like, you want to talk to that? This was a book they forced us to read at driver's ed, and this was a tradition at Warrensburg High School for years. Like, you
Mhm.
got shoved onto you. It was a good book. But I really liked the part where when the car exploded, I was so happy because I was already done with those kids. I thought, man, these kids are bad news. They don't have common sense, and like any common sense they have individually goes away when they're with their friends.
Yeah,
And I
well,
think
it was really the one kid that was the
yeah,
bad influence. And if you
true,
took that one kid out of that group, the rest of them probably would have been a good kids. See that,
possibly.
and that's what I thought was so realistic about that whole gang thing. Okay, is you had the one bad seed. You take the one bad, you pluck that one person out, and everything, the dynamics all change because it would be more equal, treat each other a little bit better, and it wouldn't be out to want to cause problems all the time. You know what I mean? But that one kid was a catalyst for so many problems in that neighborhood because the kid was just a spoiled, rotten brat. Or he came from a very abusive family, and a lot of kids that I know that act like that, their parents, one of their parents is drinking, doing drugs or whatever, and beating on the kids or on the other spouse, stuff like that. From my personal experience with people, that was after I got older and wasn't living under my parents' roof anymore. Started seeing more stuff. I mean, I went to parties and someone would, hey, you want to take a toke on this? I'm like, hell no, unless I make it myself, I'm not smoking. I don't trust any of these people at this party. Who knows what's inside that? What it's like.
Yeah.
Never let anybody bring me a drink. I always made my own drinks, things like that, because I didn't trust anyone. Once I got out and I started seeing what was going on out there, I just took care of myself because I was like, I'm not going to be that girl passed out in the other room that guys are just going in and out, in and out, in and out because she's passed out. And she has no idea who the daddy is or baby is because she had sex with like 20 guys. That's terrible. And that wasn't going to be me. And if I saw something like that, I'd be the one that say, hey, this is fucked up. You guys are sick bastards. And then I would end up leaving because, there's people that do that kind of stuff to other people, taking advantage of them. To me, was not the kind of people I thought I would want to hang out with. So I just didn't. But I was lucky that I had that opportunity to do that, and I had nice people that did hang around me, because if something was to happen and somebody was trying to do something to me, I wasn't by myself. I was with friends, people that would take me to the party because they heard about some party or whatever. And they wouldn't let somebody mess with me. So I was lucky. One time I went with two friends of mine, two girls, and before we're going to go to some clubs in Dallas, and they're like, well, we got to get some good stuff. She was talking about some blow or whatever, because I'd never done it before. So we had taken a couple tokes off of some pot or whatever, and we got out of the car and went in, but it was on the second story of like a hotel with a balcony, and I wasn't thinking nothing of it. When I walked in the apartment, though, and it's completely empty except for a big folding table and two folding chairs and a big, huge Hispanic man sitting behind the table with drug paraphernalia and everything all over the table, right? And then there was a kitchenette area with an opening, so you could see the refrigerator and the stove and stuff through the opening, and there was like a bar there, but no chairs. So I look around, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die. It's what I'm thinking to myself. I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. And I was still a teenager at this time. But one of them went over to the guy and was like, let me try some of this stuff. So she takes a taste or snorts a little bit, and she's like, starts coughing, and she tells the guy, what are you trying to do, sell me some bad shit or whatever? So she knew what she was doing. So she says, here, Jen, I want you to taste this. I went, what? And she goes, I want you to sniff a little of this. I went, no, I don't want to do that. She says, just take a sniff. So that's what I was talking about, peer pressure. So I went over and I took a sniff of it, and I started coughing really bad. And she says, what does it taste like? And I went, turpentine. I had no idea what it's supposed to taste like, right? So I ran in the kitchen and I started drinking water out of the sink because it was horrid. And then she starts fighting with this guy, and this big guy. So I'm like, I'm getting the hell out of here. he's about to pull a gun out and shoot her or kill all of us, is what I was thinking. So I just left and went outside, and my other friend was out there smoking. She's like, "What's wrong?" I go, "Oh, we gotta get out of here. We're about to die." She starts running down the stairs, and the next thing I know, the last girl comes running down the stairs. We get in the car and we drive off. So I don't know what the hell happened, but after that, I was paranoid all night, because I was thinking that I was going to get arrested or I was going to have an overdose. I didn't know. I was a basket case all night long, and I hardly slept because I was just waiting for my heart to stop or something, because I didn't know anything, because I was so dumb when it came to that kind of stuff. But that was a very scary experience, and I never did it again because it just scared me shitless. the whole situation was terrible, and I was thankful that that something bad didn't happen to us. But
No,
that's what I meant by peer pressure.
The little boy who played Calgero at the age of 9 as Francis Capra, and don't know if he's really done a whole lot since then. I'm just kind of cruising through IMDb right now, and he was
so cute. He was cute.
He was in Veronica Mars, did iZombie, Monsters and Fables. NCIS, he did a couple of shows as a character named Salazar. His IMDb picture shows quite a bit of his tattoos he's got, and I mean, I'm not trying to say anything negative about tattoos or nothing, but you can see that like the guy's got like he's got some skin art, and that's the little boy.
That's him.
That's him now.
He looks like he joined a gang.
Yeah,
because look at the tattoos on the sides of his eyes.
Yep.
Those are teardrops that usually mean when you take someone out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. His father got killed.
Let's look it up.
Yeah, his father was not there for most of his life. He was absent for most of it. He seems to at least be an acting individual, so at least he's working.
He's a good actor. Yeah. And he was what, 8 years old?
8 years old at the time.
Yeah, he was an excellent actor. I could have seen him being really, really good by the time he was a grown up. If he was as good of an actor young.
You got the young man Lilio Brancato, and this is a guy that he played the 17-year-old character for Calgero, and his story is a lot more tragic. He's an idiot. Some of you guys know what I'm getting ready to talk about here. Well, he served a 10-year sentence at Oneida Correctional Facility in Rome, New York.
The teenage boy?
Yep, the teenager. He served a 10-year sentence because he's an idiot. And I mean, this is sometimes when you stop doing something, it's always good to do wellness checks in your coworkers, the ones you liked a lot. And this guy didn't seem like he had that. He served a 10-year sentence at Oneida Correctional Facility in Rome, New York for a 2005 burglary, which resulted in the death of an off-duty police officer. He's reportedly kicked his drug habit and earned his high school equivalency diploma. He's eligible for parole beginning in 2014, and that was as of January 2011, but he was released from prison on December 31st, 2013. Now, since then, he has actually done some acting and voiceover work.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I ask a question? The one that you showed with the tattoos on his face?
That was the 8-year-old boy.
Yeah, which character did he play?
He played the 8-year-old boy that was Calgero.
Okay, the son of
first act. The son of Lorenzo, who was a bus driver.
Okay. Now the other kid that was the bad kid, the badass kid, when he was a little boy, did you look up his acting? Them two actors?
I don't know if he's the same one, but I'm going to draw a parallel here in just a second. I just need to. I know you guys are like, Bruce, why are you using your phone? Your computer's right next to you. Quiet, guys. Hold on. There used to be a TV show called The Sopranos, which I really liked, and I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was good. My family liked it. Everybody that was influential in our close circle thought it was great because all the actors that we liked watching, they were in the show. They were part of the Sopranos show. I mean, everybody. And I mean, I just enjoyed watching this. There's a kid on the show named Robert Iller, and he played Tony Tony Soprano's son, and
Hmm.
he was AJ, and it was in 2007 or 2000. No, it was 2004 when this dumb kid. He's in the middle of like season 4 filming Sopranos, and he thinks he's a tough kid, so he does a fucking robbery, and nobody happens to bail him out. Nobody comes with a getaway car, and it's just like you get these young kids in Hollywood, and their head explodes, and the need for mentorship, especially with young men, is really strong, and that's why our society is crumbling at the base of the pillars because we've ignored the young men in our society, and there's some kids that don't even know their dads. They have no clue who he is. He's just a coward. Didn't hang out with mom. Didn't
Yeah,
stay together.
I printed out something here. It said Robert De Niro wanted to work with kids from the neighborhood.
Yep.
In casting the film, De Niro wanted to hire non-actors from New York. One day, Marco Greco, who was casting for us, was on Jones Beach, and he saw this kid and asked him if he wanted to audition for us. De Niro told Roger Ebert, "The kid says, 'You're not looking for me, you're looking for my brother.'" And his brother, Lilo
Lilo
Branco,
Brancato.
Brancato, came out of the water and started doing impersonations of me, Joe Pesci, in Goodfellas. He was great. He was perfect for C. It always excites me to work with people who are new, who fit, and to create this world, this medieval village in the Bronx. I needed real teenagers, not actors trying to be teenagers. And then the next thing it says, soon after the film's release, Brand Cato became an in-demand actor, even starring in season 2 of The Sopranos. But his on-screen father warned him about the trappings of fame. De Niro came to my house in spring of summer of 1993, not only to warn me, but also my parents. Brand Cato told People magazine, "My parents are Italian immigrants and knew nothing about showbiz and the temptations that lie ahead." De Niro talked about the changes that will occur in my life. He said that this can be very dangerous if not handled the right way. Unfortunately, says Brent Cato, did not heed De Niro's advice and ending up serving 8 years of a 10-year sentence following a 2005 attempted robbery that led to the death of a New York police officer. That's what you were talking about. But the fact that De Niro, which I always thought was a total douchebag because of the way he talks about, conservatives, basically, which to me, him wanting to do this stuff to help neighborhood kids and stuff sounds like a conservative point of view. So he's changed a lot since the 1990s compared to where he is now as a huge liberal dick. Sorry, I'm putting him down, but you know how I feel about him.
Oh no.
So he's something happened for him between the 90s until today to change his whole persona on what a conservative is. A person who wants family values and 2 parents in the home and, that kind of stuff.
Have a good night, Bone.
Good night. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Six Nations says the young kid did better than the other kid who played the older C, and the other one got an armed robbery, drugs, and he's been sober, and he's been doing good as an actor, but he didn't have a good mentorship because De Niro only visited his house once and says, "You got to be careful. This is a rough business." And then he left. Didn't hang out. Didn't want to hey, we're gonna have like an ice cream party, or we're gonna
Well, the thing is that he did exactly what I said they do. They take what they need from you, and then you don't exist unless they need you again.
Yeah. And
that's just the way. That's what they do. That's why I tell people all the time: if you want your kids to be actors, is great. There's nothing wrong with wanting your child to be an actor, especially if they're really good at remembering lines and things like that. And they do a lot of little plays or whatever at home or at school. It's the fact that you as a parent should never not be on set with your kid. To me, you don't leave your kids to let someone else take care of them on a set because you don't know. It's just like I said, if you don't know people, you're not going to just leave your 7-year-old with a total stranger,
No.
So what's wrong? If you want your child to be involved, then you should be their manager. That means you should be with them every minute that they're on set, and you have the right to do that. They cannot tell you, well, your child's on set, you can't be on here. That's bullshit. So you never leave your child alone with total strangers, period. So be the same parent with your kid on a set that you are at home with your kid. If they're in there trying to start a fire, you're not going to let them, right? I mean, that's what parents are supposed to do. That your kid doesn't get drugged up, it doesn't get drunk, it doesn't get fondled with, nothing bad happens to it because your ass is there taking care of your kid, being a parent. So a lot of that stuff that happens falls on the kid and on the parent because the parent is not being a parent. So to me, that if somebody shows up and they just drop their kid off and they leave, that's a red flag for me that person is not a good parent.
I gotta blame the parents of Ellen Page.
Mm-hmm.
She was a cute girl in Juno. She was really a cute little kid. And
Mm-hmm.
she grew up into a very pretty lady, but her head was fucked up because all the shit that happened to her when she was younger on the young actors circuit. And
Mm-hmm.
it fucked her up so bad that she had to get an addictomy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
this is the type of thing that you don't want to have happen. I'm just going to bitch that mentorship is an art. Keeping people on a narrow and keeping them straight. That's to be admired.
A lot of people, say they feel sorry for Michael Jackson, right? That he had a very bad childhood, never got to be a kid. So he enjoyed the company of kids. And a lot of kids have said that they spent the night with Michael Jackson and stuff and nothing ever happened. He was just a big kid, which is fine. Okay. If nothing happened to him, I'm thankful and I feel sorry for him too. But the fact that a parent, any parent at all, would take their kid to a star's house and let their kids stay the night with a total stranger, a grown-up total stranger, shows me that that's a bad parent. That's not a parent that gives a crap about their kid. All they care about is, oh, look, I'm at Michael Jackson's house. You see what I mean? That's wrong. I don't care. I don't care if the president of the United States, and it was Donald Trump. Okay, I admire Donald Trump, but if he asked me, can your kid stay the night at the White House with me? I would say no. Now, if they said, would you like to stay the night with your kid at the White House? I would say, hell yes. See the difference? It doesn't matter whether they're famous. It doesn't matter who they say they are or whatever. It's your child. You don't just hand your child over to a total stranger. It's just, I don't understand that at all. I could never do that.
It's all right.
So that to me is just not normal. My mother would never have done that. So I can't help it. I guess I get it from my mom. I bet your mom didn't just leave you anywhere.
There were very few houses I could stay at overnight. There were very few houses.
Your mom cared about you. She loved you and she never wanted anything bad to happen to you. And when you were a little shithead, I bet she said, when your dad gets home, you're going to be sorry. Because that's what my mom did to me.
That never was said. That was
never
really?
Said. Your mom was the disciplinarian?
My mother was a disciplinarian. My father was a softie.
Well, my dad was, when he was home and not on TDY or out doing whatever, my mom was the one that would whoop our butt with her flip flop or a fly swatter or something. But when Dad was home, we got it from my dad with a belt. So
Mom learned the belt, and that was the bane of my ass. That's all I'm going to say.
But I tell you right now that I'm an adult, all the times I did get a spanking, I deserved it.
Yeah.
So I never got a spanking that I don't think I deserved. Now, when I was little, when she was spanking me, I didn't think I deserved it. But now that I'm a grown up and I remember what I did when I got a spanking, well, I was like, yeah, my mom had 5 of them. So, uh, you know, over a period of a whole day, by the end of the night, she was fed up with all the shit, all the fighting and whatever was going on. So it's amazing we didn't get more beatings, honestly. But I had a great mom. She cared about us. She really loved us and tried to do the best she could. But she had.
I was really impressed with how this movie ended up, and I wasn't expecting this route to be taken. I didn't expect it when I was first watching it to be an anti-mob movie. It definitely did not get repeated much as a young man. I watch it now, and it's great, but like I'm going to watch it again. It's going to be fantastic to watch.
Hmm.
But I didn't watch this movie much whenever it first came out because I really like Casino. I like Goodfellas. I like a good old fashioned whacking, and I like the things. I know that sounds terrible. It does, but
But
this movie
honestly, I
was a
think this
fantastic
movie was made not for us, not for grown-ups. I think it was more made for parents to watch with their
with their kids.
preteens and
Yeah,
their
this
teenagers.
this is a movie for you to watch with your child, and it's as much of it is enjoyable to watch as an adult. This movie's value is exponential when you've got your kid there watching it with you, and you're like, watch this movie, watch this movie, watch how Sonny interacts with C. Now watch how Lorenzo interacts with Sonny. Watch how these two men jockey for C's respect, and see how C just ignores his dad. This is going to happen to you too, you little shit. You're going to
Mhm.
eventually hate every word I say because you want to hear it from someone else. You want to have independence, which means you value what other people say just as much as what I say, because you might think that I'm not telling you the truth, or I want to keep you down or broke or poor. And that was one thing in the movie that I very much agreed with. I saw C. I don't say agree with, but I mean I saw C's point of view because I was stuck in a small town that had very few options for life. And I mean, that's not just in dead center of Illinois where corn grows, but that's Appalachia, that's, parts of America where you don't have big cities, big opportunities. You have kids that they have to go off to the military and they have to get a trade if they don't want to be what's regional to them. And I wasn't going to learn the art of being a processor at Archer Daniels Midland Company. I didn't want to be a laborer or a day labor guy over there either. I wanted to go do anything else, and I just wanted to have options, and that was what the Navy gave me. And then later on, I stretched my wings and got out of Illinois again, and made my way to San Antonio, thank God, and really found a trade that I love, which is crazy, but that's just one of those things. You have to grow, you have to figure out what you want to do, and once you find that, you never really work too hard afterwards. And I'll even say that's kind of true even for my job. Yeah, I labor a lot, but I don't really feel like I bust my ass as much as other people I know that hate their job. And that's something that can be said. I mean, at the end of this movie, C's got Carmine, who took over for everything that Sonny's doing, and Carmine introduces himself, and this is the character that was first assaulted as a young man. Caligero sees Lorenzo, or not Lorenzo, he sees Sonny go into action and shoots that guy
Mhm.
numerous times. And
Yeah.
poor Carmine's the one that gets beaten in the head with a baseball bat. His car gets demolished pretty much. And
Hmm.
now that everything is over, Carmine is there paying his respects, and he lets C know what's going on. It's like, hey, I do remember you. I remember you. You've got the mark on your head. It's like, yeah, I was there, and so are you. And then Carmine tells him, listen, things here aren't going to change a whole lot. I'm going to be in place of what Sonny was doing. So if you need anything, just let me know. And you don't really have much to go on from there. But I don't want to think. I don't think actually that the character that Caligaro is. I don't think he really hung out with that bar crowd much after that. He just saw his idiot friends get torched, and he understands that there's a career if he wants it, but he probably doesn't. I didn't see him get too excited about fighting. I really didn't. I didn't see him enjoy the art of beating the shit out of like neighborhood kids or anything. That wasn't something he took joy in. It looked like
Yeah,
he
but the
enjoyed.
fact where he gets to see he's walking into the bar and it's packed with people. I'd never saw it that full before, right?
Mhm.
So there's a
Yeah.
lot of people in there enjoying themselves, and he sees Sonny in the distance, and then he sees someone else that's walking around, but they're not smiling like everyone else.
Yep.
They got
And
that
that's the
that
scene where
that
Sonny dies.
serious look on their face, and he notices it right away because he has that whatever intuition now, because he was been around it, and he's learning what to look for in a crowd of people and things like that. It's a natural instinct for him now, okay, because of where he was raised and who raised him, his two different dads, basically. So that caught his eye, his peripheral vision, and he watched him. And then as he got closer, he knew that it wasn't going to be good. That he just got that gut feeling that this was bad. And then when he pulled the gun out, he started to scream, tell him no, whatever. And it was too late then, because it was the son of the guy that Sonny had killed at the
Yep.
beginning. So basically, everything his dad had told him at that moment is full circle now, right? Because he told
Yeah.
him that there people fear him, they don't respect him, and that sooner or later that all is going to catch up with him. So the fact that his dad showed up at the service at the end after everybody had left, but he came there and he's dressed nicely, he's being respectful, not just for Sonny, but for his son. You know what I mean? He was respecting his son for respecting Sonny and being there and being a gentleman. Okay, because he'd raised his son, and his son was a gentleman. Okay, so all of the things that happened, he learned. He saw it as a learning uh, step in his life, and it made him a better man, because now he could see things as a man looking back at his childhood and why certain things happened and how come he was acted, or his parents acted a certain way with him, and how come Sonny acted a certain way with him. See, he could what's that word? How do you say that word? I
Differentiate.
can't say it. He was
Differentiate.
yeah, so he could separate everything between how they handled everything to him, because there were different people, there were two different walks of life, being raised by two totally different types of men, basically, in two different walks of life. And both of them inspired him. He looked up to both of them, and helped him mold into him to be what he is. It's too bad that in real life that didn't really happen to both of them boys, you
Yeah.
know?
I think from what I'm seeing, even though the young guy that's got the tattoos all over himself,
Mhm.
I don't think I'm thinking that with all the work he's doing, it looks like he's really busy. And
No, that's good.
and the other
Being
guy,
busy keeps you out of trouble.
yeah.
If you have some good hobbies, or you have two jobs that keep you very busy, you're less likely to do some of the dumb shit that your friends might be involved in. So,
Listen, I'm going to caution people against having two jobs for a very long period of time. You can go and do a hobby that might make you some money, but
mhm,
if you need a second job, you really need to level your skills up. You need to get better at what you want to do, and then you need to go forward and make that
mhm,
cash. Uh,
yeah,
Having two jobs is just going to burn you out. It's going to make you hateful. You're gonna you're gonna blame other people for mistakes you made. And I
mhm,
hate to say that. I don't mean to be a dick. I've had multiple jobs over the years, and all it ever did for me at the time was put me deeper in debt, because all I did was, it seemed like I was putting myself in positions to where I felt like I was trapped, and I just wanted to have this one toy. I just wanted to have this one thing. If I could just put this one, set of tires on my car, I wouldn't feel like I'd, be burning myself at both ends. They're nice tires, they're performance tires. I don't need performance tires. I just need passenger tires. And
yeah.
I
There's always
don't
going to
know,
be the one more thing.
yeah, you start working two jobs, your head goes in these dumb places, and then you have fatigue, which is stacking up on top of this. Don't do it. Don't have two jobs. Level yourself up. Get your training and certifications. Find a way to learn how to excel. You're not going to do yourself any favors by working yourself to the bone and being ugly as shit by age 30 because you've been having two jobs for the past 10 years. You're not going to do yourself a
Well, I
favor.
have multiple jobs. I'm
Well, I
always
mean,
doing something.
you it's different for you because you might be an actress or you might go and do security or you might go do costuming, but and you while you're on a gig, like you might do double duty on things, but that's for like 6 weeks or less,
Well, that's
Janet.
what, yeah, but yeah, that's, I know that's what I'm lucky about that. That's what I was going to say. It depends on the job, but even
Mhm.
promo work it's kind of like acting because you are your own billboard basically. They
Yeah.
hire you to do certain things, like you might work, let's say, there's a stand-up comedian, okay, that's coming to town, and he's going to have a 2-night gig. So they hire you, and you get paid $20 an hour, or whatever. And either you'll be taking people to their seats, or you'll be showing people where to go if they can't find their way around, or whatever. Or you might be running his something backstage to make sure that there's nobody going around backstage just not supposed to be there. I mean, it depends on what job that you get. Or you might be doing the t-shirt sales for this person, or whatever other things they might be selling, or the cocktail area. It depends on who you're working for or what gig you're doing. But that's 2 days of work, really good money. You get to meet some really cool people, and it's not a permanent job. And that's why that you make more money. It's because it's a part-time job. It's a contract job,
Gig.
basically. It's all contract work, everything
Yeah.
when you do that type of job. But the thing is, it's different. And it's you fill in the gaps. So that's what I use it for. I fill in gaps. Like, let's say I worked for, like you said, 12 days on this one thing. And now I've got another 32 days before I'm going to do another one of those. See? So I have to fill in the gaps. So I get in there and I look at my two different things that I'm signed up for, what they have going on in the area that I'm at, and whether the money's worth me driving 2 hours, to get to the job, things
Very
like that.
important.
So yeah, it just depends on you. But I'm lucky because I could pick and choose which ones I want to do. I might be just selling, uh, getting people to go to a certain movie. I might be giving away movie posters and a little memory, little whatever trinkets or whatever that go with that. But I get to keep my props. Like let's say that I get a big box or a stand-up cardboard cutout of the person that's starring in the movie, and I'm handing out movie stuff, and whatever's left of keychains or bumper stickers, I get to keep them all. So, and those are really cool to sell on eBay, things like that. It just depends. So it depends on, especially if you get a good couple good gigs with like Lego company or cereal companies, because they send you boxes of cereal that you pass out at the mall or whatever for this cartoon TV show or whatever. I mean, it's just so many jobs that you can do. You can sell alcohol if you're old enough, but it's fun. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and if you live near a good, nice sized city, you'll have work anytime you want it.
I I think that at the very end, when Lorenzo comes up to pay his respects to his friend,
Mm-hmm.
his son's friend, Sonny,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Calighetto wanting to stay in that line anymore to where he's going to be hanging out with Carmine. I think that's a bridge point. That's a point of his time where he really clearly has a choice to where he could go work a job like his dad and work his ass off and go be a good man and maybe go get, a family started. Or
Mm-hmm.
he could continue hanging out with the bar crew, which I don't
Yeah.
see it really happening because he just had all his
Well.
friends burned up in a crash.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a different perspective on race that's counterproductive to the current time.
Yep.
Remember, this is like the era of transistor radios, the 1970s. You got still people that are listening to a lot of Jimmy and Janice and Jim Morrison.
Hmm.
and they're no longer with him, and so like you've got that vibe going on there. So you have all of this going on, and I don't think Caligaro would continue wanting to hang out. I think as much as Carmine and him might have a respect for one another, and Carmine's like, "Listen, if you want to be part of this, you got it. You know, you did really good for my friend Sonny, and if you want to do really good for me too, just keep going. Just do what you do." And I could see him saying that. And then in my head, the movie continues where that option's given, but instead the young man decides to go drive a bus for a living
Well,
because
the
that
the reason I think that he decide what he would decide to do was because remember he did this test on the girl when he took her on the date about he looked in the back window to see whether she'd reach over and unlock his door, right?
Mhm.
So, and he said yes. He was so excited because she was a keeper, you know. And when she was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just an Italian thing or something like that." That's what he said. But he was excited about it. So now his perspective of his future is different. So if he hadn't gotten the girl, right? If he hadn't been able to go out with her, he probably would have stayed on and maybe took the job at the bar, right? But because she did come back and she told him she was sorry because her brother had lied to her about him, that changed his perspective on his future. And so he's got the wonderful woman that he looks up to that's very classy. Remember, he said she was very classy. He
Mhm.
liked her. She was smart. She was beautiful and intelligent. And he would want to do something respectful for her. So I think that pushed him more towards him making that decision to be more like his dad because he respected his dad and he loved how his dad treated his mother and he loved how his household ran. And now he's seeing himself one day having a child of his own with his new woman, right? So his perspective on life is different. So, but if something was bad to happen, he would still had the option to go back and maybe work for this other guy because that guy was thankful that he's still alive and not in prison because of this kid too. See, he owes them. So I thought that the ending was really good. It left a huge variety of things that could be possible, but to me, they were all going to be good because he's a good kid. You know what I mean? He's honest. He's a good kid. He learned.
I think this I think it was the perfect way to end a film. I mean, I don't know if the play ended like this, but I think the way that this movie staged everything, I'm sure that there's differences between the play and how this works out.
Look right
Uh,
here,
yeah, he's
your
like the
test.
door test. I've used this before. The door test
So
works.
yeah.
I've heard people say that. Um, this this movie, it 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 on so many levels. This is a film that you can watch by yourself years later, and you can just enjoy it
Mhm.
for the good movie it is. But I think its greatest strength is actually watching it with a young kid and showing them like, let's not be a thug. Let's put that head of yours to work. Let's do good things, and let's do that. And I think this movie works on a lot better basis than that. Um, if the chat is wanting to be involved a little bit here, if you've seen the movie, if you've seen the movie Bronx Tale, I need you to just put your scores in, however you want to grade it, A plus or F or 100% or 10 out of 10 or thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't really worry about it. I just need to know. Just put your thoughts in there. They give you 200 characters to input your thoughts.
Well,
And
here's
if you
another
want to
good
like
comment right here. Sorry.
this right here, that Flady, get out of bed, read this. He's like, but do you know how to make sauce? That right there is a northeastern thing. If you've got a vowel at the end of your name, this is something. If you're from the boot, this is something that you if you don't ask this, your mom's gonna ask this of her. I'm gonna tell you that. If you don't know how to do that, this is a great. That's a great question. What do you think about that, Janet?
What
What do you
about
think
the
about?
question?
But
Or
do you know how to make sauce?
well, you got to remember, my dad, his whole family was from, you know, New York, Maine, Nova Scotia, all up in there. And then my mother's family's from, my mom was from Denton, Texas. And so they're all from Oklahoma and Texas, basically, my mother's side of the family. So I had both. I mean, I love grits, but I like my grits with salt and pepper and butter. Now, my dad's family liked them with sugar and milk. So, I got a good, you know, I got a good variety, hearing people, the way they spoke, and the way they treated people. But I can tell you right now, from both of the perspectives I had from both sides of my family, they were all generous, caring people, and they were friendly, but they were not thugs that I can remember. Everyone was cordial, and they would take casseroles to their neighbors, that type of thing. So I was very lucky. I had wonderful family on both sides. So
Mr. Angel says the kick the crap out of the biker scene was a study in intimidation. Absolutely.
yeah, it was a really good scene.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the whole thing when he locked the door, that made the whole thing. And the looks on their faces that changed is from being badasses to wimps like that. So it was good.
The first of the ratings that came in, Mr. Guns and Grenache gives it a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Angel says 8 out of 10. Six Nation 31 Kings says 8 out of 10 Donnie Brasco's. Give you guys a few more minutes while we're waiting for any other ratings to come in from the chat. Janet, what would you rate this movie?
Well, I personally, I really liked it. I thought it had a very good character arcs for everyone in the story, even Sonny, because of the Sonny's relationship with C made him a better man. Okay, because he got better as the movie went on, about more caring, paying more attention. It did get him a little headache, like with the whole thing with the bikers, because Sonny saw the look on C's face when the bikers were in there, and they were saying, "Hey, we just wanted something to drink. We're not here to cause any problem." So he said, "Okay, well, just let them have a drink." And then as soon as they started to leave, he regretted that decision. But I think he made the decision simply because C was there. He was trying to show C that he could be compassionate and not judge a book by its cover, basically. And he got bad shit from it. But I see a change in him. So to me, I just loved it a lot. I thought it had really good story about racism and about a young man growing up in a diverse neighborhood, but having two father figures to help raise him. And both of them were totally different, but they were both strong-willed men that all they wanted was the best for the kid, right, in their own way of doing it. So to me, I loved it. I thought I would give it a 9 out of 10. That was my choice, because even besides that, I was talking about when you were gone, was the costumes, the visual view of the city, the cars, the special effects when the car blew up, and the burning of the record store. I mean, everything about it was down to detail. It was just so realistic to me. It was like really walking down the street, during the 1960s and watching all the stuff going on. I thought it was really very well done. The story was really good. The props were good. The direction was good. The soundtrack was great. I loved it. I really couldn't really find that much. The only thing I could find that I would have added or done a little different was a little bit more between the son and the mother.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That dynamic really does not get explored in this movie.
No, this was mostly about their relationship between the boy and the two fatherly figures. The mother was like an afterthought. I mean, she was in there like when she found the money and a few other things. They let her be in there so you could tell that she she was a good mother and that she tried to do her best with her son, but you didn't get to find out enough about her. Like when she said, why not this, keep the money? You didn't get to find out why she felt that way. You know what I mean? There was lots of stuff they could have added to me to give a little more detail in the relationship between him and his mother. But I think the director chose not to do that because they were trying to keep it more between him and his two father figures. But because of that, that's why I'm not giving it, higher than, like a 9.5 or whatever. But I think 9 out of 10 is, for me, from the point of view, from the overall experience of the movie with, what I know goes on behind the scenes and the editing and all that was great. I mean, I thought they did excellent job in all aspects of the movie. So to me, I would give it a 9 out of 10.
I'm not going to rate it as high as that, but I'm going to rate it an 85 out of 100. I think it's a amazing film. It's a great movie that we get to see the directing chops of Robert De Niro and how he balances and holds all the hats and how he can get people that are talented in their various wares to come and do good costuming. The props are good. Whoever taught Robert De Niro how to drive, I think most of the scenes with the buses are actually kind of green screened or the projection style screening, but I'm not going to complain about that too much because it looked like he did try to drive a bus. And there's parts of that where, like, when the little boys are running around, jumping on the back of the bus a couple times, like one of those is actually the little brother of Lilo Brancatos, I believe. And it's funny to watch him driving the bus. When I was watching him drive the bus, I was just having a good old time because I've seen a lot of people do that for hours on end. Just live in a small town, like you got nothing to do. Well, you're going to hang out with this bus driver for all day while you're on holiday. You're still going to have to go to school, and you got to go do this.
Well, what did you think about the part where Sonny drove the car backward that whole time around the whole block? And why would he do that? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, I remember that scene. I'm remembering the fact that I was amazed at how Chaz Palminteri can actually drive a car in reverse really fucking well. And
Yeah, he did really good. But the fact that he did it the whole time he's doing it, I kept looking around wondering why he's going backwards. And there wasn't any reason for it. I mean,
I think the reason was just to like check out and see if there's any tails. I think he was looking for trouble. I that's what I felt. I really felt like that was like the reason why he did that. But I was just amazed he could drive a car in reverse like a pro like that. There's very few Hollywood actors that I give any respect to that are actually good vehicle operators. And like you're gonna already know this, but my favorite of all of the operators in Hollywood is actually Kurt Russell. There's a movie called Dark Blue that he drives a car through pretty much a riot, and the actors, the stuntmen and stuntwomen that are there are throwing stuff at the car. He's the one behind the wheel the whole time. He also drove the semi truck on the back lot of the movie Big Trouble in Little China, and he did a couple of the driving scenes in the out of doors before they get in the clustered Chinatown area. He's just an amazing driver. Chaz Palminteri, he's like right up there with Kurt Russell. I thought he did so well in this film, and the fact that he's a talented scriptwriter, he did this as a play for years.
For years, and he wanted to see his play become a movie.
And it
and
worked
tell
so
the
well.
story of a working man. That's what he was. Yeah. That's what he said in the interviews that I was looking up after I saw the movie. So to me, I was impressed by that. I was impressed by the talent of not just the actors acting, but the talent of them putting all this together. Being able, because a lot of people don't understand how hard it really is to do a play. Because if you're doing a play, it's live. You're doing everything live. You know what I mean? Yes. You make mistakes, everyone sees it. So a movie, you get editing. You get to edit all your mistakes out, or as many as they find, or they detect. So I was impressed with that when I read all that, and that fact, and I really liked him as an actor. I think he did an excellent job. And the more I watched it, I was like, wow, I recognize that person. I recognize that. I was recognizing a lot of people from a lot of the other movies that came out, with Italians and stuff in it. So just like when Joe Pesci came out, I was like, oh, it's Cousin Vinny, whatever, because that's that's how I recognized him. I just remembered who he was when he came to the funeral service, but I didn't remember him from the beginning of the movie when he got hit with the bat. I didn't recognize him then because it was so fast and stuff.
Jonathan
So
Grenache, have a good night. If you're actually taking off, I hope you have a good evening.
thank
Thank you
you
for swinging
for
by.
coming.
Six Nation
Bye.
says an old high school friend's father was an ex-race car driver. The stuff he could do in a minivan was amazing and scary all at once. I got respect for good drivers. Yeah. And that's, nobody really takes a whole lot of thought about it, but there's people that they make driving their lifestyle and they make it their dream to be better at it. And we're lucky that we live in a world where people can be amazing drivers, where they just, they drive a shuttle bus or they do limo work. Maybe
well,
they do security.
Can I say something about that? People don't realize it, but when you watch a movie or a TV show or a music video and they have driving in it, and it's on the interstate, like the scenes that you saw in The Matrix, and there's all these lanes of cars, and you got trucks, and you got them weaving in and out. Every single person driving on that road is a stunt driver.
Yep.
And you don't see any of them. You don't even see their faces because they're in a car. But every single person in any of those vehicles is a person trained to drive. And they have to go a certain speed, stay in a certain lane, or whatever it is that they have to do for the whole thing to work out the way it does without anybody getting killed. Okay, because they all have to do their jobs. So because this one guy gets all the credit because he did this stunt or that stunt while he was driving, but you're not realizing that every single person on all the other lanes were doing their job perfectly. That's why no one died, because that one person in one car going in another person's lane or doing something wrong, slamming on their brakes at the wrong time or something, caused the whole thing to be nothing but a big giant huge mess of cars and injuries. So a lot of people aren't thinking about that. You're seeing the action, but you're not understanding how many people are actually involved in it. That's why a lot of these movies are so expensive, because you got to pay all these people that are all doing these certain jobs to make this whole thing go together. Especially, like, I know all you guys love action-packed movies, right? You love stunts, you love shootings, all that, bombs blowing up or whatever else. And I like it too, but it takes a lot of people. You got to have a lot of stunt people. You have to have a lot of professional drivers. You have to have people for pyrotechnics. You got all the different stuff going on all at the one time. And it's all edited together to make it even look more, wonderful. But just think of all the John Wick movies. I mean, golly, every time I go see a John Wick movie, it's just phenomenal because of all the people that have to do exactly what they're supposed to do all at the same time, while they're all doing the fighting and the other actions that are going off, with explosions and guns going off and a glass breaking, everything. It's just so much in there. The next time you get to go watch it, just try to watch it for the special effects. Just go see it and try to pay more attention to all the people involved in one scene, one big fight gang scene. Like that one, what movie was that, when they're in the courtyard and they're doing all the fighting in the mud and stuff? That movie.
Talking about The Raid Part 2.
Yes, that whole thing. I mean, I couldn't get past how much detail and how many people were involved in that scene that's why it was so freaking awesome, because everyone did their job. That's why it was so good. That was why it was so realistic and it was so exciting the whole time. It's a nail-biting scene because of so many people involved in it, for it to be good, and people just movie magic. People just don't, they don't understand the details that go into it, and it's just exciting. I wish they would do more behind the scenes documentaries on different things like that, because it would open so many people's eyes. They just don't realize, like the scenes in Game of Thrones, all the big sword fighting with the horses and the fire arrows, just so much stuff in it. How many things that could actually go wrong if that person didn't know what they were supposed to do, or if they did it right at the time someone bumped into them when they were shooting a flaming arrow, things like that. It's just phenomenal to me, how well so much goes in these movie sets. And then you had the one tragedy when someone shoots two people, because they didn't follow the directions or whatever the reason was behind it. But you can have all these huge scenes with tons of guns going off and arrows shooting or whatever, and nobody gets hurt. So, it really does matter who you have in charge of things on your sets.
I think this movie is a winning proposal, both behind the camera, watching all the stuff going on, and just looking at how the set design, how everybody interacts with each other. There's nobody out of place. Nobody's in there that doesn't look like they don't belong on that block, interacting with the people and the extras at any given time. It just looks like it's a living, breathing place. So
yeah, it looks like a real street. Real people walking down the street, people going into the stores, people driving down the road or parking their car, or just it was like everyday people. And that's why I think De Niro wanted to make sure he was able to take regular people. Because like he said, I wanted real teenagers to play the teenagers because they're teenagers, So, because like Grease, okay, it was a little over the top trying to make people believe that all the people in it were teenagers or high school kids, because you could tell some of them looked 30 years old, right? But to actually make a movie with nothing but teenagers in it that are supposed to be teenagers, that was a really good. They did a really good job at picking kids that could actually act, or having good acting coaches on set while they were doing it.
I think the casting director needs to, like, whoever was involved with the casting, that was just such a winning portion of this movie. Like,
because you had a lot of people that all had the same vision. Okay, it's like I said, you read a script, the person reads the script and tells it to someone else, and they're like, I really like that story. I think it's really good. Then that other person goes, well, you go find somewhere to film it. Then you go find people to help you hire people to find the actors. And then you need someone that's going to help us with the sets and the costumes. And everybody loved it enough to find the right people for the different jobs. That's why when you put it together, it's so realistic, and it I don't know, it creates a good bond between everyone, so everything goes well. You see what I mean? And also, besides that, whoever paid for it and funded it made sure that it would smoothly and that it got out there. You know what I mean? Instead of having, like I said, like that whole movie that we watched that was already in debt before it even went to the theater, everything was going great except for the executive side of it. See, even the executive side can ruin a good acted movie. So to have everyone on board and everybody all wanting to reach the goal of a successful movie, because everybody loves it, they want to see it come to life. That's what makes it the one sparkling star in the mix of the blackness, the darkness. So I thought it was great. I mean, not just for the story that was being told, but the fact of everyone coming together and making it successful in all the different avenues where it belongs. And I thought it was really good, because I could definitely tell that everybody involved in all the different parts of it were paying attention to detail, and that's why it was so good.
I have no more praise for. I mean, I could just repeat what I said before, but I'm done praising this movie. I've said everything I wanted to say about it.
Well, do you have anything from your dad that he would like to say about um, what made him
My
want us to do
he's
this
already gone to
movie?
bed, but he when my
But
dad
what
and
did
I
he
were
tell
talking
you?
about this before,
Yeah.
when we were talking about this movie beforehand, he said this movie shows you very authentic what life was like living in the boroughs, and you'd have
Mhm.
your family and you'd have like members of your extended family within close distance. And so you would go out and you'd stay in front of your building. You might have a boulevard or you might just have the sidewalk, but that was
Mhm.
yours. And people would move around you, they'd walk around you, but nobody really messed with you. This was long before the era of Adam Walsh and America's Most Wanted. But he gave me this big long shtick about how it was back in the day. And I remember him telling me like that movie hit on so many authentic levels. And then his own father and him had a discussion about being a good man and learning a trade, getting a job. And so my dad decided, well, I'm going to be like my father. I'm going to do things with my hands. And my grandfather was a mechanic initially, and then my
Mhm.
dad started doing CNC work. Well, once he started doing CNC work, there were people that he became just in demand. That's just how that was back in the day in the 70s and 80s. America was a very industrious nation. We still had a lot of factories going on. So my dad could go in anywhere and just get a job working CNC lathe. He could do anything. He could drop the blueprints for I'm going to improve your safety rating on a lot of these conveyor belts. We're going to get these guards in place better. We're going to have things more secure. You're not going to have so many pieces falling apart asunder and, get cattywampus while they're going down the line. My dad was good with that. And that's just something he's naturally good with. He's gifted that way. Uh, he taught me a few things about that, but I didn't stick around with him much. I didn't stay in machining that long at all. But he showed me
Mhm.
some things that is with his job, and this is why he chose the life he did. And a lot of us in the family, a lot of us heard people that were involved with other things up from Chicago. And yeah, my dad's got the same name as Joey the Clown Lombardo, but that doesn't mean my grandfather named him after one of the best racketeers in all of Illinois history. No, that's far from the truth.
Mhm.
That we were never really associated or affiliated or, even gave a shit about that side of the family. That's just another group of relatives that they had their own lives and they did their own thing. And we hope the best for them. Rest in peace, Joe. But now you're in a better place. You're no longer in prison. You whatever whatever you're doing now, it's got to be better than having syphilis while you're in prison. And that's just the the thing. I mean, my dad's like, we saw it all the time. You'd see people get involved and they get involved with this stupid stuff and they'd just be used as pawns, or they would very rarely get, involved to a medium level, much less a high level. The high level is already taken by this guy's kid that's
Mhm.
not born yet because he's going to marry this girl from the church and she's Italian or Sicilian too. And he's like, so you don't get involved with it. You just go live a normal, mundane, everyday working stiff job. Just enjoy that. Just enjoy the fact that you've got to struggle. Just learn something that you can at least rationalize why you want to go get a paycheck. And that was something my father wanted to make sure that I talked about because he's like, you don't want to have a movie that you don't want to show your friends, the movie The Godfather, then Goodfellas, and Casino, and then say you got to be into organized crime, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that, Bruce. And so he's like, show them a
Do
Bronx
you
Tale.
think that
That's
movie influenced people to want to be in gangs like that or groups like that
do
when
I think
Godfather came out?
do I think The Godfather did? No, not at all. I think a lot of Italians bought the book because Mario Puzo is a hell of a writer, but I
Mhm.
don't think that really I don't think that really enticed a lot of young men, especially Irish Italian types, to go mob. I think if they were ever enticed to go mafia, it's because their immediate peers, their immediate circle, like they knew a kid that he always had more money than them, and so they were like, "Hey, listen, what do you need done?" And they would go that route. They wouldn't watch a movie. They already could put it together. Like Johnny bought the USS Flag for the GI Joe, and he's only 12. How does he have the money for that? What's he doing? And so they would get
Mhm.
involved, and they would do stuff whatever it was, and then they're like they wouldn't live past the age of 20 or 22 because at some point it ends. It's just business. Sorry. And that,
Yeah.
or you go off to prison, you go off to jail, you got tied up in something that obviously somebody else found a lot of interest in you, and you're going away. And a lot of people, I don't think the Godfather or Casino or Goodfellas ever was a good advertising or selling point for young kids getting the mafia if they live close to it. I think if they live close to it, they already knew about it. They already knew because their parents said, "Don't you ever associate with whatever family. Don't ever go with the Tortellis. They're just a bunch of garbage hoods. They might drive nice cars, but they're garbage on the inside."
Yeah, but
You
the
hear,
sad thing about all of that is the fact that today or any time, I mean, any child growing up, when you can hang with certain people and wear certain clothes where it makes you, you know, they feel is respect, like if, just like you said, it's fear. Okay, so like this, say you join this one gang, and this gang wears big white t-shirts and Nike tennis shoes and black pants or whatever. Okay, and you get to wear that, and so when you're walking around town, everybody goes, oh my god, that's a person and they're in that gang, so better back away. So they're kind of treated with fear, so they take it as that's respect. You see, just like he was trying to say in this movie about that isn't respect, it's fear. Fearing somebody is not the same as respecting somebody. And I thought that was a really good way of showing it, and the way they went back and forth between the two characters, and Sonny saying one thing, and then later on the dad said the opposite, but then it turned out to be the opposite of what Sonny said. So over and over again, Sonny was proven wrong, that it was a good thing that he was doing. And the boy, as a young boy, knew it from the beginning because he saw him commit murder in cold blood. Basically, the guy was defenseless, and he just shot him in the head. So the fact that he knew from the beginning that he wasn't a good guy, but he looked up to him because of everybody in the town or in the neighborhood looked up to him. So, and the fact that he looked at him twice and treated him like he was a normal person made him more infatuated with him. You know what I mean? But then he grew to have a bond with him over time, but he still never, ever looked at Sonny the same way he looked at his dad. It was two totally different types of respect for what each of the characters did. And I think that was the story around that was really, really good. So I thought it was a great story. And I wish that more people could understand it and see it that way, that it is fear, not respect.
yeah,
And maybe more people would be less likely to do it. But the fact that a kid can sell cigarettes on the corner and make more money than he would in 2 or 3 days than he would a whole week working at McDonald's is the reason why that kind of stuff is always going to be more popular, because you can get more for your money, even though it's breaking the law. And when we have weak police stations and weak judges and stuff where, stealing is a better way of life than actually having a job, why would anybody want to work? That's the sad fact of where we are right now, I think.
appreciate that. Do you have any final things to add before we wrap up?
Mm-mm. But I'm thankful that your dad wanted me to watch this movie, or us, I mean, because I had never seen it. And I'm glad I watched it because I think it was really, really, really well made movie with a very good story.
I love the characters in it. I really do. Ches Palminteri plays a hell of a guy in a lot of movies. He does play an asshole in Running Scared, which was a movie I was trying to think of earlier with Paul Walker. That was a movie that I can probably watch that a little bit more. But this movie here is probably his best work. Chaz Palminteri did so well with this.
Yeah, and the fact that he did it on Broadway, basically.
Yeah.
Over and over again. It was like his baby, basically. It was something that he really loved. He loved this story and the story about just a regular working Joe and how he stayed that way. He stayed respectful, even though he was surrounded by ways to make more money and be disrespectful.
Now,
He looked up to it.
next week, the movie of the week for us will be Trimmers,
Oh,
the
that's right.
original 1990 film, and we'll be bringing the Crafting Gamer on with us as well. That
Okay.
was a rather big surprise. I didn't have to do that, dude, but okay, because we were going to get to that.
Mhm.
I really do like Trimmers movie. Um, if you like us, if you can like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Janet trying to grow her channel, myself the same. We do appreciate what you guys do for us. You guys didn't have to spend 3 hours, 10 minutes with us, but those of you that did, I'd like to give you a
Thank you
handshake
so
or a
much.
hug,
Yeah.
and really appreciate what you've given us. And if there's anything you have to comment on, we do have a comment section. If we get comments throughout the week, we will
Mhm.
put them out there. Haven't really gotten any comments on some of the previous videos, which I was kind of weird. I'm like, well, they comment during the show. Okay, that's cool. But if you guys watch this or if you share this with your friends and I get comments, I'm going to read them out loud because I think that's just the right thing to do. I try to at least keep up with the chat. And the good thing is we have between 12 and 30 people in chat. I can keep up with that. You get 100 people in chat talking, and it's hard to keep
Mhm.
up with everything going on. You just have to have moderators and let them take care of it. But I really want you guys to have a safe week. This is a kind of a weird week we've got going on right now. Uh, keep a hold of your ceiling fans. Don't let people take them away.
Yeah.
And, oh, Bruce, don't get political. Okay.
Well, just stay hydrated, everybody, because the heat is just unbearable, and just try to keep an eye on your friends and your family to make sure they're staying cool, and the pets and your pets. Make sure they're getting plenty of water and some shade.
Also, next week, Sunday night, for consistency, we will have a guest in our Discord streaming Tremors for us. That is the Crafting Gamer. If you guys want to swing by, it'll be 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and
Seven
come
o'clock,
watch it
Janet,
with
or
us.
7:30? Janet, do you want 7 or 7:30?
Yeah, 7 sounds good. I always try to be there at 7.
Okay.
Sometimes something might happen, but
Yeah. And I mean, if we don't get started at 7 right away, please just be patient. We'll be in there.
Mhm,
I'll be in there at 7 no matter what. And when the stream starts up, when everybody's there, when everybody gets seated, we'll start the movie. But it's a time if you guys want to talk throughout the film, you can.
mhm.
I'm perfectly okay with you guys screen talking the whole time because some movies are enhanced by that, and we're friends, right? I expect you to talk while we're watching the movie.
I have a bad habit of doing that.
Missed it last time. You were muted the whole night.
I know.
But
I did. I was talking a lot and thinking, and I was like, well, they're just not interested in what I'm saying. And then I realized my mic wasn't even on. So, oh well. But I was talking. You just didn't hear me.
no, I didn't. Everybody have a great night. We will see you
Thank
here
you.
next week for Trimmers. Sunday night, Discord, watch party. If you guys like 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser, I'll be over there tomorrow night discussing the movie Con Air, and
Mhm.
that will be interesting. So, if Janet, what are you doing this week before we leave?
Um, well, I'm not for sure. I mean, different stuff happens every day, but I'm hoping to have another Friday night shit show on Friday night.
I'm looking forward to it. I was tired as hell Friday. I'm sorry, and I had to leave right
No, that's
before
okay.
I,
But
I
in a
relaxed.
couple of weeks, on the 8th or whatever, we're having a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that Friday, the next day, I'm going to a con. So
Ooh,
to hopefully get to meet William Shatner and James Franks.
ooh.
So I'm going to try to be at that one.
Get photos.
I got ticket. I got my ticket already for for the day because I was in a costume contest and stuff. So I'm hoping that I can enter that. We'll see what happens.
This is a much better outcome if Janet wins the lottery. I would rather this happen. Janet will open a foster home and get everybody a new car. Janet, if there's a movie with a young kid in the film, young kids like Janet,
Mhm.
her ovaries explode. She's got to go hug the kids. She just wants to
I
pinch
can't
them.
help it. They're so cute. That little boy last night was adorable, and he was such a good little actor.
Yes, he
So
was.
believable. Like the kid that was in I want to do this movie, the one that sees dead people.
Oh, Sixth Sense.
Yeah, I want to do that movie for sure one time because I just love that boy. I mean, oh my God, I can see why he was nominated, but oh my God, I just cried and cried for him through the whole movie because my heart just melted for that kid. But he
Also,
was so good.
there's a question for you in panel there. Do you see that?
Oh,
What?
it's in here, I'm gonna hold this up and get it. It's in Arkansas in Little Rock.
Oh, Little Rock's Comic Con.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I'm trying to take this down. It says it's Arkansas Comic Con.
Okay. Are you going to dress up as a Orion slave
Yeah,
girl?
I want to be an Andorian because I bought makeup and stuff. Remember, I told you I had the whole
Mhm.
outfit, the wig. I wore the wig before with the little things on it and stuff when we did the Thing movie. And I have my uniforms, Star Trek uniforms, and I wanted to have the blue skin and everything. And I had got all the stuff I needed, but I didn't get to go to that Star Trek convention because of the mask mandates and the shot mandates. Remember? So
Yeah.
I didn't go. I gave my tickets to Nerdrotic and his wife.
Good choice. Good choice.
So, because yeah, I couldn't get my money back for it. Anyways, I got my money back for the room and my airplane tickets and stuff like that, but I wasn't able to get the money back for the con. But so I want to go to this one because I was going to go there and meet these actors already because I like to get their autographs more than I want pictures. I mean, because you can buy a picture online, you take that and get them to sign it. So
If you can get like a close and comfy shot with Shatner, I think he'd probably enjoy the shit out of that.
well, you have to pay to get a picture. So what I'd rather do is go next to him and get an autograph and then have someone from a distance with a close-up lens take a picture. That's what you do. That's how you save money, especially
Smart,
when you're not rich.
smart woman. They're happy that you're going as an Andorian. They're underrated.
I love Andorians. That's one of my favorites on the original Star Trek.
I want to
Because it was
believe.
so funny how the guys were not very attractive, but the women were always very pretty. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
Andorian women. So, yeah, I might go as a slave girl again one day, but I haven't got to do my Andorian in an actual con yet. So that's why I'm excited about it.
Well, once again, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I really appreciate every one of you being in the chat with us. If there's anything you want to talk about or such, the Discord, I'll put the Discord in the chat real quick. Go ahead, blow it up. I'm going to put Janet's in there and mine.
Can you put my link in too?
Yep.
Is that too hard?
No.
For my Discord?
Yep. This is Janet's Discord right here.
But really, really appreciate all of you guys because without you, we wouldn't, even be able to do this. And I love doing it. I love talking, as you guys could tell. But hopefully I didn't put too many people asleep because they say my voice is very boring. Puts people
soothing. She has a relaxing voice, almost like
same thing.
ASMR.
If somebody's snoring after you've been talking to them, that means boring. Oh well.
Everybody have a great night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no problem. I got both Discords there in the chat. Go ahead and subscribe to both. Also, before I leave, make sure you guys are subscribed. I know that sounds weird, but if you've got a favorite YouTuber, you've not seen him on your feed lately, go ahead and do a search on him. Make sure that you are still subscribed to these guys, because YouTube is being YouTube, and I hate to think that you guys would be missing something you want to watch. Night, everybody.
Good night.
God bless.